The hero ran swiftly through the darkness and noise, surrounded by numerous monsters. Their screams and rustling sounds merged into a terrible chorus of pursuit. His heart pounded in his chest. Fear and adrenaline prevented him from concentrating. His thoughts were confused. There was no plan or strategy to fight back. He felt helpless in front of this horde of dark creatures. All attempts to think of anything seemed futile. In desperation, the hero concentrated and began to create a magic circle under his feet. His hands moved quickly and confidently, as if salvation depended on this single action. Light surrounded him, giving him strength. The magic circle gradually turned into a water barrier, transparent and powerful. The water rose up and formed a living shield that was supposed to protect him from attackers. It seemed that the power of nature was on his side. But the monster moved forward inexorably and destroyed the defense with one blow. The water barrier crumbled like fragile glass, leaving the hero defenseless. His hopes for salvation instantly collapsed. The game seemed to be over for the hero. He felt the last spark of hope receding. He was in a virtual reality helmet. Suddenly he took off his helmet. It was just virtual reality. A deep breath calmed him, reminding him that everything was under control here. This game would make a great subject for a lesson on magic and survival. Its realism and intensity were mind-blowing. The hero, using the magic of storage, took a jar of cold coffee from an invisible pocket. The warm aroma filled the room, helping to restore strength and clarity of thought. Magic seemed to be a part of everyday life. In this world, people constantly improved their magical skills, but the use of offensive magic was strictly prohibited. Mitaro handed the coffee to his colleague, smiling in support. The small gesture lifted the mood and strengthened the team's spirit. Every moment of mutual help was important. Suddenly, the train crashed into the building where the hero was. The walls shook, dust rose into the air, and everything around was plunged into chaos. That moment changed everything. The protagonist lay among the rubble, feeling pain and fear. His colleague called him, trying to help him get out from under the destruction. The world around him seemed shaky and unreal. Mitaro died in this world. His consciousness plunged into darkness. His last thoughts were of his loved ones and how he could not protect them. The end became the beginning of something new. But soon he woke up in another world, completely different from the previous one. A feeling of bewilderment and strangeness came over him. He was lying on soft grass. Having examined himself, he did not find a single scratch. The last moments of his life and the face of the colleague who tried to help him came to mind. These memories were vivid and painful. They helped to maintain a connection with the past. The place around was unfamiliar and alien. No familiar objects or buildings were visible. Only endless trees and the silence of the forest. The hero felt lost. There was no one around, only the sound of the wind in the treetops. This world seemed uninhabited and mysterious. He tried to find some kind of landmark. The hero tried to use search magic to figure out where he was and where to go. His hands made complex movements, and ancient spells popped up in his head. Hope was kindled again. In his pocket lay a magical information terminal, a device capable of unlocking the secrets of this world. Its screen flickered, ready to give out the necessary information. It was his only assistant. The terminal informed him that he was in the forests of Mania, a place the hero had never heard of. This new information confused and alarmed him at the same time. What was this mysterious world? Mitaro admitted to himself that he had never heard such names and did not know of the existence of this place. This meant that he was far from home in his old life. A new world required new knowledge. The terminal also showed a map of the surrounding area, with trails and important objects marked. This gave at least some support in the unknown. Now it was necessary to understand the new conditions. The worlds he moved between were completely different, like two parallel universes. The rules and laws of magic were different here, which made adaptation difficult. The hero felt like a wanderer. The protagonist concluded that he had been reborn in a new body and a new place. This opened up many opportunities for him, but also imposed responsibilities. A new path was just beginning. On the map, he noticed a danger sign, a warning of an impending threat. This symbol caused alarm and caution. It was necessary to be careful and ready for any trials. The sign meant the presence of magical beasts, creatures possessing strength and cunning. their appearance could become a serious problem for a newcomer. It was necessary to prepare for the meeting. The terminal suggested using attack magic, despite the prohibitions from his previous life. It was a challenge and a chance to prove himself. The hero wondered if it was worth breaking the old rules for the sake of survival. In addition, the device showed the magic circles needed to cast attack spells. Their complexity and beauty were astounding. Mastering them was a matter of time and persistence. The hero informed that these spells contained dangerous information that was best not to be shared. He understood the risks and realized that magic was a power that required wisdom and caution. Despite his doubts, he tried to use magic, repeating the movements and words. Energy gradually filled his body, but the result remained unpredictable. This was the first step. Suddenly, the terminal malfunctioned and stopped working, shutting down without warning. The screen went dark, leaving the hero in complete darkness. The loss of connection with information caused panic. He lay there in a panic, not knowing what to do next. His heart was beating fast, and his mind was looking for a way out of the situation. A feeling of helplessness overwhelmed him. Mitaro tried to recall the magic circles from memory, grouping the knowledge in his head. He understood that without practice and training, much is forgotten. Restoring skills became a priority. All he had left were the spells of everyday life, simple and safe. They didn't give much power, but they were familiar and reliable. This was his foundation in the new world. Although he could remember some complex spells, using them required training and concentration. The hero knew that there was a lot of work and effort ahead. Suddenly, he heard cries for help coming from the depths of the forest. It made him shudder and instantly mobilize his forces. Perhaps this was a chance to prove himself and start a new life. The hero moved towards the piercing screams that came from the depths of the forest. His heart was beating anxiously, but his determination did not allow him to stop. In the distance, a cart was slowly crawling, with a clearly frightened man sitting on it. His eyes were wide open in terror, and his hands were tightly gripping the reins. It was as if fate was hanging by a thread. Behind the cart, a huge monster thundered, its heavy paws tearing up the ground, and menacing cries filled the air. Everything around seemed to be plunged into chaos and fear. Katan, a huge boar, suddenly rushed straight at the cart, trying to ram it and stop the pursuer. In appearance, he did not at all resemble the monster from the game. He was an animal of flesh and blood, with living breath and noticeable weight. The protagonist stood hesitantly, aware that using offensive magic would violate the taboos of this world. He felt an internal conflict between duty and fear of the consequences. But if he did not use force, the man would surely die in the clutches of the monster. There was no time to think. Every moment was worth its weight in gold. Taking a risk, Mitaro decided to try using magic. His spirit was strengthened, and his faith in his own strength was gradually returning. He was ready to join the fight. Jumping onto the cart, he felt every creak and tremor. His body was filled with energy, and his mind focused on a single goal: to save the man. If the attempt failed, at least he would distract the monster, giving it a chance to escape. This risk was worth it for the sake of life. The hero quickly created a magic circle, glowing with mysterious symbols. His movements were precise and confident, as if he had been training for this moment for a long time. The magic worked. The magic circle flared with a bright blue light, filling the surrounding space with powerful energy. The success of this activation breathed new strength and confidence into the hero. Minato's gaze instantly focused on the target, the huge monster that was getting closer with each passing moment. A fire of determination and courage flared up in the hero's heart. From the glowing circle grew a glittering spear of lightning, sparkling and alive, as if it had a will of its own, ready to strike the enemy with incredible power. However, due to the long accumulation of energy, Minato knew that he would not be able to maintain this spell for long. The magic was beginning to drain his strength, and time was against him. Suddenly, the advice came to mind: the spear must be thrown immediately, not held for too long. This was their only chance to deliver a decisive blow to the enemy. A magical bolt struck the monster, sending it flying back with a wave of energy. The beast let out a low roar and stopped, stunned by the force of the attack. The man on the cart looked at what was happening in horror, not believing his eyes, and Katan, lying motionless, seemed as if he had turned to stone. The ground around the boar was shattered and deeply cracked by the powerful blow. The scene looked like a battlefield after a hard fight. The hero himself could not believe that all this had actually happened. His heart was filled with a mixture of surprise and pride. Now he truly believed in the power of attack magic, which he had previously only heard about in legends and games. The man on the cart, dumbfounded, could not understand what exactly had happened and how he had been saved. His eyes darted around, trying to comprehend what was happening. As predicted, in this world, the knowledge and use of magic was rare and mysterious. He saw that many feared and did not understand it. Mitaro was glad that he was able to help and save a life. This feeling gave him inner satisfaction and a new incentive to move forward. Gitli, the rescued man, introduced himself and wanted to thank the hero for his help. His tone was sincere and friendly. The hero responded by giving his name and also expressed gratitude for the support and rescue. The first acquaintance began between them. The man asked curiously how exactly he had been saved. He was interested in understanding the nature of this mysterious force. Having heard his story, the hero was frightened by his own words. They sounded too incredible even for him. He showed the man the magical information terminal, hoping he would understand its technology. However, Gitli did not recognize this invention and looked at it with incomprehension and surprise. Mitaro wondered if this man was really the simple merchant he claimed to be. Doubt flashed in his eyes. The hero was overcome with inner turmoil. He was frightened by the unknown and the current situation. An awkward silence hung between them, as if time stood still in anticipation of the next step. The hero agreed to accompany his young companion to the nearest city, firmly promising to help him adapt to the new environment and find the necessary support for his further journey. In addition, he suggested visiting the Adventurers Guild, a well-known place in the city where one could receive a variety of tasks and meet experienced fighters. Gitli assured that money would not be a problem and everything would be sorted out. Handing Mitaro an apple, he smiled sweetly, thereby relieving some of the tension. The character himself came up with a convenient excuse for the hero to explain his presence. The young man liked this excuse, and he felt lighter and more trusting. They boarded the cart and set off, leaving their fears behind. The nearest town was called Mania, and that was where the travelers were heading. The protagonist thought that now they were going to the city of adventurers, where his new life would begin. The cart moved slowly, its wheels creaking along the narrow forest road. At that moment, it was as if the gears of fate began their endless run, changing everything around. The hero carefully climbed out of the carriage. His feet touched the solid ground of the city. His gaze scanned his surroundings. The noise of the streets and the people around him seemed completely different compared to the forest. A new world was opening up before him. A small animal with a fluffy tail and shining eyes ran out from around the corner. It quickly stopped and looked at the hero carefully, as if studying a new person. Its small claws barely touched the ground. Despite the fact that the animal looked like a small monster, Minato felt no fear. His heart was open to new creatures, and he saw it as a friend rather than a threat. A bright spark of curiosity lit up his eyes. The hero reached out his hand, wanting to pet the animal, but then remembered, these creatures are very poisonous. He stopped, not wanting to expose himself to danger, and took a step back. Caution was more important. Meanwhile, Gitli was carefully studying the map, putting together strategic plans. His fingers slid along the roads, marking the path and possible obstacles along the way. His face was focused and serious. The entire journey from the forest to the city took almost half a day, filled with changes in mood and thoughts. The hero felt tired, but also anticipating new adventures. Time and space seemed unusually alive. Minato believed that a carriage was the best form of transport for long journeys, especially given the dangers of the roads. Comfort and safety were important, and speed was not always the most important. It seemed like a reasonable choice. At the gates of the city, they were met by guards, carefully examining the arrivals. The soldiers stood straight, and their gazes were sharp and cautious. This was the hero's first official contact with the new world. One of the guards recognized the man and asked if he was accompanying anyone. His voice was patient and businesslike, but his gaze was wary. This question determined how the newcomers would be received. He replied that it was time for them to part here, but left the door open for future meetings. His words were friendly, but with a hint of farewell. He wanted the hero to feel free. He offered to come to the gate if there was a need or danger. It was a kind of guarantee of safety and support. In the new conditions, such acquaintances were worth their weight in gold. The merchant suggested meeting later to discuss details and help with orientation in the city. His smile gave confidence, and the hero felt that he was not alone. Minato walked through the streets, watching the life of the city. People passing by, conversations, and the noise of trade. The streets were alive and full of movement. Every step was a new feeling. The building of the Heroes' Guild stood out ahead, majestic and a little frightening. Its doors invited into a world of adventures and trials. This was a new stage for the hero. He entered the room, where a diverse crowd had already gathered, from experienced fighters to newcomers. The atmosphere was tense, but at the same time full of hope. Minato felt a surge of excitement. He felt awkward. Everyone around him looked stronger and more confident. He felt small and inexperienced, as if he had just stepped into an unknown world. But an inner voice told him not to give up. In the carriage, Jitli explained the different ranks of adventurers and how it affected their abilities and tasks. This knowledge helped Minato better understand the system and the prospects. It was important for orientation. The hero's gaze slid over the wall, where contracts and offers for adventurers were posted. Each of them promised a challenge and a reward. Minato studied them carefully. A task called Manian Ox caught his attention. He considered the difficulty and risks associated with this beast. It could be what he needed, but something made him doubt it. Despite the interest, there was no information on the board about the boar that had recently helped them in the forest. This made the hero think about the connections between the tasks and reality. He continued to look at the other offers, trying to find something more suitable for himself. Among the many options, each seemed attractive and difficult in its own way. Finally, he found the herb-gathering task, which was simpler and more relaxed. It could be a good start for a newbie to get used to the new conditions. The road now led the hero to the reception desk, where all the formalities had to be settled. Minato felt a mixed feeling of excitement and responsibility. He approached the counter where the receptionist stood, a friendly girl with kind eyes and an attentive look. Her smile inspired confidence. She greeted the newcomer warmly, offering to help with paperwork and answer any questions. Her speech was clear and friendly. Minato received forms to fill out, which required him to provide his personal information and magical skills. This was the first step towards official recognition. By filling out the paperwork, he identified himself as a magician, a statement that reflected his abilities and experience. This statement determined his future path. The hero explained that he considered himself a mage because he had learned an attack spell, although it was rarely used in this world. This made him stand out from the others. Minato was surprised to note that despite the unfamiliar speech, he understood the language without difficulty. It seemed a mystery to him. He handed the completed form to a girl named Shira, who studied the documents carefully. Her gaze expressed surprise and interest. Shira was surprised that the hero did not have a magic wand, an item that usually increased the stability and control of magic. This was unusual and required an explanation. She explained that the wand helps control the power and suggested that he take one for convenience. Her concern was sincere. Shira gave him a simple stick, simple in appearance but with great potential. It was a symbol of trust and support. Minato tried to create a magic circle with a stick, concentrating on the energy inside himself. His hands were shaking, but he was determined. He felt something change inside. Power spilled out of him, awakening new possibilities and abilities. This was the beginning of a new stage in the development of magic. The hero created a ball of light that softly illuminated the room. His magic became visible and perceptible to everyone around him. Shira looked at him with surprise and admiration, recognizing his talent and potential. It was a sign of approval. Mitro thought that he could die in the dungeons using magic, because the rules there were stricter and more dangerous. His fear was real, but despite his fears, he was not going to give up magic, and was ready to move forward, learn, and improve. The girl smiled sweetly, her eyes sparkling with kindness and interest. The protagonist looked at her cautiously, as if sensing the hidden depth in her smile. His inner voice told him to be on guard. An unpleasant memory appeared in his head, how he had once been deceived and set up. This moment made his heart clench with distrust and anxiety. The experience of the past influenced every fresh step. Shira handed him back the wand, placing it carefully on the table. There was confidence and a little wariness in her movements. It was a symbol of trust, but also a test. Then she asked about his inclinations and preferences in magic, expecting an honest answer. The question sounded calm, but with a hint of importance and responsibility. Minato was silent. He could not immediately figure out what to answer. Internal conflict and uncertainty forced him to keep his mouth shut. Crystals suddenly appeared on the table, glowing with a soft light and reflecting different aspects of magic, as if they were waiting for the hero to choose his path. His index finger reached out to one of the crystals, as if guided by an invisible force. His heart began to beat faster, sensing the importance of the moment. Among the bright crystals, a dark sphere shimmered, a symbol of darkness, which was also included in the list of inclinations. This darkness inspired fear and mistrust. The protagonist had an uneasy feeling, as if something dark and dangerous was hidden behind this choice. An unclear danger hung over him. In his old world, everyone could control all directions of magic, and this was the norm. Freedom of choice and power were intertwined in a single flow. Minato's crystals all lit up at once, as if he had the rare ability to cover the entire spectrum of magic. This caused amazement among those present. The girl who was watching this was shocked. Such a phenomenon was unfamiliar to her and seemed incredible. She had only recently seen magicians, but not such ones. She respectfully called the young man a sage, a rare and powerful magician who is able to comprehend all the secrets of magic. Sages were a rare breed, legendary figures of stories and myths. To be one of them was a great honor and responsibility. There was another similar figure in Shira's history, a magician who suffered a tragic fate and died, leaving behind secrets and mysteries. Meanwhile, the adventurers gathered behind Minato, whispering and discussing the unusual phenomenon. Their gazes were filled with doubt and surprise. All this reminded the hero of the hustle and bustle and difficulties he experienced in office work. Endless conversations and intrigues. He himself said out loud that this result seemed false and implausible to him. His words reflected an internal struggle. Under the guise that it could be a residual effect of a past life in magic, he tried to find an excuse. The protagonist tried again, but this time more carefully and with more concentration, to see if anything would change. Concentrating, he slowly moved his finger towards the chosen crystal, trying to control every movement. When touched, nothing happened. The crystal remained calm and inactive, as if holding its breath. Minato was glad about this. The lack of reaction meant that the dire predictions had not come true. But there was disappointment among the adventurers. They expected to see a miracle and a manifestation of power. The girl Shira did not understand why he was so cheerful and happy when it seemed that nothing had happened. Meanwhile, people in the guild discussed what was happening, making their assumptions and sharing opinions. Many believed that this was a way to attract attention and declare their importance. After that, they completed registration, and the line came to an end. Minato was given a guild card, a document confirming his status and rights as an adventurer. He was also enrolled in a beginner's course to learn the basics and rules of working in the guild. He was advised not to come to class with a full stomach to avoid discomfort and loss of strength. Everyone wished him luck and success in his new endeavor, supporting him with a positive attitude. Minato arrived at the training camp, a place where adventurers learned and improved. The protagonist was sure that the magic here was very different from what he knew, and wanted to find out exactly how different it was. The camp was in the midst of active training, with the sounds of swords and magic spells filling the air. He was met by a sword, a symbol of courage and trials, which was to become his companion on the way. Several adventurers gathered together, preparing for the upcoming attack. Their faces expressed determination and excitement. The atmosphere was tense and full of anticipation. Another of the group took a defensive stance, watching the enemy carefully. He was ready to repel any attack. His movements were precise and confident. He suddenly threw one of the students back with the handle of his sword. He swayed slightly, trying to keep his balance. The battle began from the very first minutes. The teacher looked at what was happening with displeasure. He did not like the frequent attacks without a plan and discipline. He wanted the students to act in a more organized manner. The hero was slightly frightened by the sudden movement. Doubt flashed in his eyes, but he quickly pulled himself together and prepared for further action. A sword was pointed at one of the students, threatening him. This caused tension in the air. Everyone understood that the training was becoming a serious test. The pros and cons of the events that are taking place are listed. Each moment is analyzed from the point of view of effectiveness. The students listen attentively and draw conclusions. The teacher was also dissatisfied with the others. He pointed out mistakes and failures. His goal is to help everyone become better and stronger. People came to find out what tasks would suit them based on their experience. Everyone was looking for their place in the group. The discussions were active, showing interest and a desire to learn. The instructor's gaze fell on the hero, as if assessing his abilities. The hero felt close attention. This gave him confidence and excitement at the same time. Mitaro was already prepared for battle. His body tensed, preparing for action. He felt mixed feelings, fear and determination. But there is no need to fight, because he is a magician. His strength did not lie in physical combat. Magic is his main weapon in defense. The protagonist said that he could only use one magic. This was his limitation and, at the same time, his peculiarity. He sought to develop and learn further. He was asked to demonstrate his abilities on targets. It was an opportunity to show his mastery and level of control. Everyone was waiting with interest for the result. In this world, magicians were treated strangely. Their power was perceived with fear and mistrust. The hero began to understand the reasons for this attitude. Mitaro began to cast his spell, concentrating on the task at hand. His movements were smooth and precise. The magic came alive under his hands. He aimed at the target and prepared to fire. The air was tense. Everyone was watching his every move. He began shooting at targets, one after another. Each shot was accurate and confident. This impressed the observers. Remembering his abilities, the hero used everything he knew. His concentration was at its maximum. He strove to show the best result. He hit 2 more targets in a row, confirming his accuracy. Confidence grew with each successful shot. A gleam of achievement appeared in his eyes. The 5th target was particularly damaged by his magic. It barely remained in place after a series of blows. This caused amazement among the spectators. The adventurers were shocked by the display of power. No one expected such power and control. The hero aroused respect and surprise. During this time, the hero was tired, feeling tense and depleted. His breathing quickened, and his body demanded rest. But he was pleased with his success. The instructor also opened his mouth in surprise. He did not hide his admiration for the student's skill. It was a sign of recognition and respect. Magicus is called to help, to assess the hero's abilities. His presence instilled seriousness and importance of the moment. Everyone was waiting for the expert. The instructor of magicians descends from the tower, carefully observing what is happening. His gaze is penetrating and stern. He is ready to give an assessment. The hero peers at the hero, analyzing his every move. He tries to understand the student's level and potential. This was a critical moment. The instructor conjures with a wand, demonstrating strength and skill. His actions were confident and precise. He sets an example to follow. He explains that mages do not fight in the front lines but stand in the back to support. This is a rule of discipline and tactics. This strategy ensured survival. Now the young man understands why magicians are treated this way. He understands the reasons and limitations of his class. This discovery changes his view of the world. It is also said that offensive magic cannot be used. This restriction is related to resources and safety. The hero ponders this information. But the hero can become an attacker in any squad, despite the rules. He is given hope and support. This motivates him to further development. Now Mitaro is a true adventurer, ready for new challenges. He was accepted into the ranks with respect and trust. He feels proud and satisfied. They shake hands, establishing an alliance and friendship. This gesture symbolizes acceptance and support. A new stage in the hero's life begins. They can write him a letter of recommendation for future missions. This opens up new opportunities and prospects. The hero looks to the future with hope. The hero was even offered to rule the country, but he refused. His goals were different, and he understood his priorities. This shows his character and beliefs. The protagonist does not understand why not everyone can use offensive magic. This question remains a mystery to him. He searches for answers and explanations. His question is answered, explaining the limitations of magical resources. This helps him accept reality and plan his actions. The information was important. It is said that offensive magic is expensive in terms of mana, so it is not used often. This limitation affects the tactics and strategy of the battle. The hero takes this into account in his plans. The hero feels he can do many more lightning strikes. His confidence grows despite his limitations. He is ready for new achievements. He thanks the terminal for its help and support. This source of information and resources becomes a valuable assistant for him. The hero appreciates such support. The protagonist wants to learn more magic, despite the difficulties. His desire for knowledge is great. He does not stop there. The instructors are surprised by such a desire to learn. For them, it was unexpected and unusual. This speaks of the hero's determination. The young man admits that he knows only one spell, but wants to develop. This honesty and openness are characteristic of him. He is ready for change. Shira suggests that he go to the forest on the north side of the city for further training. This is a chance to gain new knowledge and experience. The hero accepts the offer. The hero stands in front of a large book, preparing to study it. The book inspires respect and interest. This is the beginning of a new stage in his education. The book, more than 1,000 pages thick, promises a lot of complex and useful information. The hero feels the weight of knowledge in front of him. This is a challenge for him. The hero begins to read the book, trying to understand the content. He is focused and persistent. His goal is to master new skills. He can't understand why mages are considered weak in this world. This question torments him. He wants to understand the reasons. He begins to suspect that he has missed something in his understanding of magic. This prompts him to investigate further. The desire to learn more grows. He tries to use the magic of the vault. Experimenting. The hero is not afraid of mistakes and learns by doing. This is an important step in development. Copies the magic circle into a notebook to better understand the structure. This approach helps to systematize knowledge. He deepens his understanding. Mitro learns his own strength level by comparing results. This gives him guidelines and goals for growth. He evaluates his capabilities, understands the intricacies of the lightning spell circle, noticing the intricate details. This opens the eyes to the depth of magic. The hero is ready for difficult work. Minato noticed that the magic circle had many unnecessary parts that interfered with the spell's power. This helped him understand which elements could be removed for optimization. He began to remove unnecessary components from the circle's design, simplifying the spell, and thanks to this, the magic became much stronger and more effective. His efforts brought tangible progress. The spell, having become simpler and more concise, became more powerful, which inspired the hero to further experiments and improvements. Minato changed the structure of the magic circles using a creative approach. The new configuration greatly improved the quality and power of the spell. Thanks to his school knowledge and persistence, he saw that he could become a good adventurer. Education and practice go hand in hand, giving hope for a successful future. A girl walked by and caught Minato's attention. Her appearance brought a slight emotional tone to the atmosphere, and the hero could not help but notice her presence. She approached the clearing where Minato was working, her quiet steps not disturbing the peace, and she watched him with genuine interest. The girl was spying on him, trying to figure out what exactly he was doing. Her curiosity was innocent, which created a slight atmosphere of intrigue. Minato continued to create the magic circle, concentrating on his work. His movements became more precise and confident, and the magic began to come to life. Mana began to flow through his body, directed into the spell. The hero felt the flow of energy, which was an important stage in witchcraft. He felt a slight tension in his palm as the energy concentrated, a familiar and exciting sensation that confirmed the magic's response to his will. Minato built a dance of fiery swirls, creating a bright and powerful spell. The magic flowed smoothly and beautifully, causing the hero to be satisfied with the result. Mitaro was happy with his success. All his efforts were worth it, and a happy and proud smile appeared on his face. This victory was an important step on his path, but accidentally sets everything around on fire, causing a fire. An unexpected consequence of magic forces the hero to react quickly. The situation becomes critical. He uses water magic to put out the fire, showing ingenuity and speed. The water extinguishes the flames and saves the situation. The hero demonstrates control over the elements. The water wets the girl too, which causes an unexpected comic moment. Everything around becomes wet. The hero and the girl share a moment. The protagonist sits down at a notebook to write down his observations and draw conclusions. His studies continue. His journey is just beginning. The hero met the girl's eyes. Their glances met for a moment, filled with incomprehensible excitement and interest. This short contact became the beginning of a possible friendship or something more. Mitaro sleeps in the tavern, immersed in a deep and peaceful sleep. The silence around him gives him a well-deserved rest after a long journey and new impressions. His consciousness is carried away into a world of dreams. The sun is already shining brightly outside the window, filling the room with warmth and light. A new day begins with hopes and opportunities. Light breaks through the curtains, inviting to new achievements. He realizes that he has found himself in another world, distant and unfamiliar. This feeling of surprise and anxiety is mixed with curiosity. Every day here brings new mysteries. The food was placed on the table in front of Mitaro, and the aroma of fresh dishes filled the room with coziness. This was a manifestation of care and hospitality. The hero felt relief and gratitude. The man next to him does not understand what the hero is saying because of the language barrier. This creates distance and misunderstanding between them. Mitaro feels isolated. The hero is offered to go to the guild to receive a task and start a new life. This is a chance to prove himself and develop his abilities. He wonders if it is worth accepting this challenge. The protagonist thought deeply, weighing the pros and cons. Doubts and hopes were mixed in his head. The decision requires courage and determination. Mitaro knows he can live for a while on Jitli's money. This gives him confidence and freedom of choice. He is in no rush to act. The desire to try out magic spells becomes stronger. Magic attracts him with its mystery and power. The hero strives to develop and learn new things. New tasks appeared on the board, and Shira urged Mitaro to make sure he didn't waste time. She showed enthusiasm and tried to motivate him to take action. There was an atmosphere of bustle and anticipation. The young man was pushed in line, urged to make his choice quickly. He felt pressure and some confusion. The wait was becoming more and more tense. He was intrigued by one of the tasks that seemed appropriate and interesting. Inwardly, he had already begun to plan how he would carry it out. This gave him a small boost of confidence. Mitaro was determined to take on this task, seeing it as a chance to prove himself and gain experience. His determination was obvious. He was determined to succeed. But the mission was unexpectedly taken away from him, which caused disappointment and annoyance. This feeling of injustice slightly lowered his fighting spirit. However, he did not give up. The protagonist found himself immersed in a crowd of people that seemed like an insurmountable obstacle. He was lost among the many faces and voices. The atmosphere was chaotic and tense. However, one task remained in his hands, which became a small victory and hope. This inspired confidence in a successful future. Mitaro felt a surge of strength. The task turned out to be simple and clear: to collect magic stones. At first glance, it was an easy job. The hero took up the task with enthusiasm. He had to find and collect magic stones that had special powers. This task required attention and diligence. The hero was ready for work. However, the mission failed because there were almost no stones left in accessible places. This was an unpleasant surprise and caused disappointment. The hero faced a difficult reality. He is offered to increase his rank to gain access to more complex and interesting tasks. This is a new step in the hero's development. He understands that he cannot do without it. Mitaro remembers what it means to advance in rank, and the requirements that come with it. The words of his mentors and past experiences come to life in his memory. He realizes that there is a lot of work ahead. Raising the rank turns out to be quite a troublesome and lengthy process, requiring effort and time. This is a challenge for the hero, and a test of his perseverance. He is ready to accept the test. Despite the difficulties, he still takes on the task of collecting magic stones. Determination prevails over doubts. Mitaro is full of strength and ready for new difficulties. The young man arrives at the place where the task is to be carried out. Looking around carefully, there is silence and calm all around. He is ready to start work. But soon he feels hunger. which reminds him of itself. The hard journey and stress have affected his body. The hero understands that he needs to have some food. He sits down to dine right on the rock, enjoying a simple meal. A girl approaches him from behind, attracted by the smell of food. Her appearance brings liveliness and warmth to the atmosphere. The hero feels a slight excitement. She smelled the aroma and became interested in the treat, which became the reason for getting to know each other. A light and friendly conversation began between them. Mutual interest arose. The hero invites her to eat together, showing attention and kindness. This simple gesture brings them closer and creates an atmosphere of trust. The girl smiles back. The girl looks at the protagonist attentively, trying to understand his character and thoughts. Her gaze shows genuine interest and kindness. This moment is filled with a special feeling of mutual understanding. She recognizes him as a man with a fire flower, a symbol of strength and special purpose. This discovery arouses respect and curiosity. Their connection deepens. She continues to eat, enjoying the moment and her interaction with the hero. Her mood relaxes and the atmosphere becomes warmer and friendlier. Trust is established between them. The heroine asks where he is heading next, showing concern and interest in his plans. This question is filled with genuine excitement and a desire to know more. It's exciting for her to follow the protagonist's actions and feel close. Her feelings are getting stronger and she wants to be there to support him. Amy remembered the upcoming test and hurried away, focusing on her duties. Her departure was quick, but it left a mark on the hero's soul. The girl runs away rather quickly, disappearing from sight. The moments of their meeting were short, but significant. The hero remains in thought about what is happening. Before parting, they wished each other luck, filling themselves with hope for the future. It was a farewell with warmth and faith in new meetings. Mitaro went deep into the dense forest, full of determination and ready for the challenge. The nature around him seemed mysterious and inviting. The unknown awaited him. Deep in the forest, he found ancient ruins, traces of a long-gone civilization. As he walks through the ruins, he intends to be very careful, aware that dangers may lurk around. Touching the wall, he recognizes its composition as reinforced concrete, a material unusual for this world. This discovery causes surprise and questions about the origin of the ruins. The hero tries to understand its secrets. This concrete turns out to be much more advanced than anything he has seen in the world around him. The level of technology boggles his mind. It changes his understanding of ancient civilizations. The hero reaches a mysterious triangle, a symbol with a special meaning. The place attracts attention and raises questions. His heart begins to beat faster. The protagonist remembers Amy's words about this symbol and tries to relate them to what he saw. Memory helps him understand the importance of the place. He feels a connection to the past. In the triangle, he finds a secret door hidden in a wall that was previously unnoticeable. This discovery causes excitement and curiosity. The hero prepares for a new challenge. Behind the door, a staircase appears, leading down into the unknown. The descent inspires awe and anticipation. Mitaro decides to go further, despite his fear. Suddenly, a dagger jumps out of the darkness, aimed at the hero, like a trap. Mitaro quickly attacks the dagger with lightning, using magical defense. His reaction is fast and precise, which helps him avoid danger. Magic becomes his ally. He does not understand the nature of this object and its strange behavior. Bewilderment and caution appear in his eyes. The dagger resembles a knife-shaped monster, a living and active weapon. Such a creature evokes fear and surprise. The hero realizes that he has encountered something dangerous. It turns out that these are active claws, dangerous living weapons that can attack instantly. The situation becomes serious and tense. Mitaro understands the threat. Despite all his efforts, the protagonist never finds the magic stones needed to complete the task. His search turns out to be futile. This causes disappointment. The young man decides not to stop there and to move on, keeping faith and determination. His spirit remains strong and ready for new adventures. Minato uses light magic, directing it at his surroundings. His spells brightly illuminate dark spaces, giving confidence and strength. Magic helps to resist danger. There is no one in this place. Silence and emptiness reign all around. The atmosphere seems suspicious and ominous. The hero realizes that he is in a dangerous zone. The hero remembers that this mission is considered safe, but he has already been attacked, breaking all expectations. The attack was unexpected and alarming. He realizes that the situation is more complicated than it seemed. In the corridor, he notices a door that attracts his attention. It seems important and contains a mystery. The hero prepares for the next step. The door turns out to be locked, with a lock that cannot be opened in a simple way. This obstacle requires cunning and magic. Mitaro begins to look for a way out of the situation. The protagonist takes out a book of magic to find the necessary spell. He carefully studies the pages, trying to remember the important runes. The book is his key to success. He builds a magic circle based on his knowledge and experience. The circle serves as protection and a source of power. The hero concentrates on performing the ritual. Uses a fire cannon, a powerful and bright spell to attack. Flames cover the area in front of him, creating a barrier and frightening enemies. Behind the door are daggers, a trap or a weapon ready to attack. They threaten the hero with surprise and danger. Mitaro prepares to defend himself. He tries to defend himself using magic and his skill. Every move is thought out and fast. The hero fights for survival. Concludes that this task is not for a beginner. The difficulty level is much higher. This test requires experience and strength. Mitaro realizes that he must become stronger. His magic failed to work, failing to have the desired effect on his enemies. This was an unpleasant surprise and necessitated a change in tactics. The hero feels vulnerable. Minato began to run quickly, dodging the flying daggers, trying to find a safe place. Avoiding traps and attacks, he understood that running was the only way to survive in this dangerous situation. Having made up his mind, the protagonist decided to use lightning magic, a more powerful and destructive spell. He began to gather energy for the final attack. Once he was at a safe distance, he prepared to cast the spell, so he could focus and use all of his power. This gave him time and space to concentrate. Minato began to draw a magic circle, enhancing his abilities and creating a source of power and protection around himself. He was completely focused on performing the ritual. Thanks to his upgrades, the hero could now release multiple copies of the spell at once, which greatly increased his chances of defeating his enemies. Minato hoped that his magic would work, repelling the attack and neutralizing the danger. His faith in his own abilities grew stronger. He was ready for a serious fight. Lightning began to strike the flying knives, striking each blade one after another. The energy destroyed the dangerous weapons, depriving the enemy of strength and advantage. The knives fell to the ground, neutralized by the power of magic. The threat retreated, and the way forward opened. The hero sighed with relief, feeling a temporary respite. However, Minato was very exhausted after using powerful magic. Fatigue and weakness made themselves felt, but he was not going to give up and continued to fight. Now he could enter the door that had previously been closed and guarded. The path to his goal was finally open. Mitaro took a decisive step forward. The hero realized that a lot of effort had been expended to get here, and every action required not only energy, but also courage. He hoped that all these efforts were not in vain, and that something important and significant was waiting for him ahead. Internally, Minato was ready for new trials and discoveries. The hero managed to find 240 blue stones, an unusual and impressive result. No one has ever brought such a quantity before. This is a big victory for Minato. No one has ever brought so many stones at once, making the hero's achievement unique. His name begins to spread among adventurers. The success impresses everyone. Shira announces the price of the stones found, voicing a significant amount. This confirms their value and importance. Minato hears good news. The protagonist asks to buy the stones from him, wanting to receive a reward and use the money for further development. He counts on the generosity of the guild. Minato has enough points to increase his rank, which opens up new opportunities and missions. This is an important stage in his adventures. He is ready for a change. Shira, who closely follows his progress and supports him, told him about this. Her words inspire and motivate the hero. The hero asks to free up space in the inventory to continue collecting new items and resources. Organization and order are important for an adventurer. With the help of storage magic, Minato aims to get the things he needs instantly, making his life much easier and bypassing the limitations of normal equipment. It is a convenient and practical solution for an adventurer. At one point, he takes a large boar out of storage. An unusual and impressive animal. demonstrating his strength and the capabilities of his magical arsenal. Minato's storage capacity has increased several times, making his adventures much easier. He can now take with him much more necessary things and equipment. He wonders if there is a task to subjugate this boar. After all, despite the size of the beast, it is important to be able to control such companions and use them in battle or travel. Soon the protagonist is promoted in rank, which confirms his merits and successes. This is an important step in his development, and Minato feels pride and satisfaction from the recognition. Now he has to pass the test, the final test before the final promotion in rank. This is a new challenge for which the hero prepares with full dedication. However, Minato is in no rush to raise his rank right now, preferring to prepare better or complete other matters first, making a decision thoughtfully and carefully. The teacher, observing what is happening, is surprised by such a rapid promotion. This event seems unusual to him and deserves special attention. Rank promotion occurs without completing a standard task, an exception to the rule, indicating recognition of Minato's special merits and potential. This is the fastest rank advancement in the history of the training center, causing admiration and discussion among other adventurers. The hero becomes a role model. Minato is now in E rank, a new level that opens up new perspectives and opportunities for growth for him. It is a symbol of his progress and efforts. All the adventurers congratulate Minato, expressing respect and support, and the atmosphere is filled with joy and enthusiasm. The hero is invited to approach the task boards and choose a new task. New challenges and opportunities to prove himself await him ahead. Everyone watches attentively to see what task the hero will choose next. The atmosphere is filled with anticipation and interest. Minato's decision becomes the center of attention. The hero takes the task sheet, ready to begin a new mission. This is an important moment of the start. He is focused and confident. The task is harvesting, simple at first glance, but requiring attention and diligence. Minato accepts the challenge. The young man approached the training center, a place where training and testing were regularly conducted. The place was filled with the energy of knowledge and the desire to grow, and he was ready to learn and become stronger. The hero's task has changed. The previous one, unfortunately, was not completed on time and returned back, reminding us of the importance of responsibility and discipline. He realized that he would now have to try to complete this test again. He accepted the challenge of fate and set himself up for success. The new assignment was given to him by a group of seekers of wisdom, respected people in these parts whose knowledge and experience are valued by all. It was a sign of trust and the seriousness of the mission. The hero was told that seekers of wisdom are well known in the area and do not give out tasks just like that, which increased the status and significance of his new mission. The group consisted of 2 people, experienced and serious researchers, with whom Minato was to meet and work together. The conditions of the task stated that it could be abandoned only after one had become familiar with the details of the test, thereby emphasizing responsibility and obligation. Now Minato could either agree to the mission or refuse after reading the terms. His choice was important and serious. Minato was already standing at the gate leading to the testing grounds. Ready to take the next step in his journey, he entered deeper into the territory, looking around carefully and preparing to meet the seekers of wisdom. Before him stood 2 girls, seekers of wisdom, waiting for him. Their appearance inspired respect and aroused curiosity. Both girls were strong and independent individuals who watched Minato closely, as if assessing his preparation and intentions. Mania tries to call him a monster, but stutters, feeling embarrassed or hesitant. However, she still manages to call him a monster, emphasizing his unusualness or strength. The girl raised her hand sharply and pointed her finger straight at the boy. A word filled with surprise and fear escaped her lips. She screamed that there was a monster in front of her. The young man frowned, trying to understand why he was being called that. Questions about where these monsters had suddenly appeared swarmed in his head. He looked around, trying to find someone who could explain the strange words. There was not a soul around. Emptiness and silence reigned in the room. The girl, without looking away, asked with obvious interest where he got so much mana from. She seemed to see something that was hidden from most. The character standing next to her blinked and looked confused. She didn't understand what had happened and turned to her companion Mania. At that moment, the young man realized that all the words and glances were directed specifically at him. His heart began to beat faster, the revelation became clear. He realized that from now on, he would have to explain his abilities. It turned out that the heroine possessed a rare gift. She was able to see the amount of mana flowing in Minato's vessels. This gift made her stand out from the crowd and revealed secrets hidden from others. The girl closed her eyes, as if trying to concentrate or suppress her excitement. Her breathing became even, and her face reflected seriousness. She was preparing for the next step, which could change a lot. The girl said with confidence that the hero had not 5, but 6 attributes. These words sounded like a sentence, and at the same time like a confession. At that moment, he realized that the secrets were out, and there was no more hiding. He had been exposed, and now everyone knew his true power. This realization both scared him and inspired new determination in him. Amy said that with many attributes comes great power. Her voice was full of respect and admiration. She believed that Minato's power could change the course of their mission. The girl added that the hero was strong enough to help them in the upcoming task. Her words sounded hopeful and confident that together they would be able to overcome all difficulties. The team needed such an ally. The girls began discussing the boy's magic, exchanging assumptions and impressions. Their voices rose and fell in surprise and admiration. Minato's magic was the topic that connected them all. The heroine noticed that the young man was so strong that he gave her the impression of a monster. Her words were full of respect and slight fear. He seemed to her like a creature from another reality. Mania was the brains of the team, thinking up strategies and analyzing situations. Her mind was sharp and precise, like a blade. She always knew how to direct the group's forces to victory. Amy was the muscle of the team, strong and determined. She protected her teammates and always stood at the forefront. Her strength and courage inspired everyone around her. The young man realized that he had to earn their trust and respect. He realized that strength is not everything. The support of friends is also important. His path was just beginning, and there were many challenges ahead. While the girls were whispering, the young man decided to intervene in the conversation. In a serious voice, he asked if there would be any more tests. He wanted to understand what was ahead of him and how to prepare. The girl replied that the hero had to shoot at a target. She pointed to a toy attached to the wall. It was a test that could say a lot about his skill. The hero looked at the target with a serious and focused look. A fire of determination flared in his eyes. He was preparing to show his abilities and prove his strength. Slowly and surely, he began to create a magic circle under his feet. The light from the magic filled the space, causing surprise and even shock among the girls. His power was real and impressive. The hero concentrated and directed his magical energy at the toy rabbit that was standing nearby. Suddenly, the toy burst into a bright flame and the fire quickly engulfed it. Soon, all that was left of the toy was a pile of dark ash, which slowly fell to the floor. The smell of burnt plastic and wood hung in the air, all evidence of the power of the hero's magic. Turning around confidently, the hero looked at the girls with a challenge, waiting for their reaction. Amy, not hiding her smile, said that it was not a target at all, and the real target was a little higher. The hero felt a slight wave of shame run across his face. He had screwed up and missed. Inwardly, he scolded himself for his inattention, but the effort to remain confident did not leave him. The heroine noted that his magic was very strong and unusual, as if from another world. Minato realized that he needed to gain their trust so that they would not be afraid of him and accept him as an equal. One of the girls said with delight in her voice that it was amazing and very beautiful. She asked with interest what kind of spell it was, her eyes shining with curiosity and admiration. She looked at him carefully, waiting for an honest answer. Minato modestly said that he had learned all the spells from a book he had recently read. His voice was confident, but there was a slight shyness in it. At that moment, Mania ran up to him, quickly closing the distance. Her face expressed surprise and interest, as if she wanted to know more about his magic. Mania informed him that the book in question was a manual on offensive magic, a rare and valuable source of knowledge. She was clearly impressed and wanted to test his knowledge. She began to question the hero up to what point he had read the book, hoping to understand the depth of his preparation. Minato replied that he had read it completely from beginning to end, which caused her obvious surprise. Mania took the book in her hands and said with a smile that Minato had passed the test, because those who carry this book cannot be bad. For her, this was an obvious sign of trust and strength. The young man thought to himself that his forgetfulness in not returning the book to the library on time had played into his hands. It was thanks to this that he found himself in the spotlight and received recognition. The girl thought out loud that she was going to get rid of the old toys anyway, so burning the rabbit wasn't such a big loss. Her words sounded understanding and slightly ironic. She added that the spell was very beautiful and she liked it. It was a compliment that warmed Minato's heart. The hero replied that everything was fine and there was no need to worry. The girl, however, said that something was bothering her, and she wanted to discuss it in more detail. She admitted that there was no such spell in the book, and only a great magician could use something like that. This made her respectful, but also a little wary. The protagonist realized that the girl was on guard again, and he had to prove that he was worthy of their trust and respect. This was a new challenge for him. Amy suggested moving on to discuss their upcoming mission, switching the focus from magic to business. The heroes gathered in a cozy room and, while sipping tea, began to discuss the upcoming task. Amy spoke passionately of her plans and the dangers they would face. The hero listened to her, but his face was sad. His thoughts were far away, and his heart was worried. Minato understood that the girl wanted to go to unexplored ruins, where many threats were lurking. For such a trip, she needed strong mages, and she completely agreed with this. At this time, Mania was silent, calmly pouring tea and listening attentively to the conversation. Her calmness was created by contrast with the heated discussion, as if she was thinking over every word. Looking at the teapot, the hero thought about his feelings. A mixture of excitement and fear of the unknown, and the desire to prove himself. He thought that they really needed to go on this quest, although it would be far from an easy job. Severe trials awaited them. Minato said that he had not yet decided whether to join them or not, leaving the door open for a choice. The girls were clearly surprised by Minato's statement. No one expected such uncertainty and doubt in his abilities from him. The hero explained that the quest description clearly stated that he had the right to refuse the task, and that was why he wanted to weigh the pros and cons. This caused slight disappointment among the girls. They wanted to see a more decisive and courageous ally. Mania showed him the amount of the reward for completing this quest. The numbers were truly impressive and promised significant benefits. Minato thought that the offer was indeed very profitable and deserved serious consideration, especially considering the risks and efforts involved. The heroine added that they initially planned to hire 10 people to carry out this task to ensure maximum safety and efficiency. Hearing this, Amy said that everything was going exactly according to plan, which confirmed that the preparation for the quest had been carefully thought out and serious. Minato asked what exactly the phrase, according to the original plan, meant, and whether the girls really intended to hire exactly 9 people, considering his participation. Mania answered seriously that she had been counting on a large team, but had not been able to find worthy people. She added that she saw in the young man a strength superior to a group of 10 people, so they might not need help. The girls looked closely at the hero, as if trying to look into his soul and understand his true intentions. The guy admitted that the offer was very tempting, and after many years of office slavery, he felt deep satisfaction from the opportunity to change his life. He asked how dangerous this mission would be, trying to soberly assess all the possible risks and prepare for the upcoming tests. The girls looked at him with slight surprise. They did not expect such a direct and serious question, which intrigued them a little. One of them answered with a smile that there are no adventures that are completely devoid of danger. After all, it is the risks that make them so exciting and unpredictable. Minato watched the girls carefully and felt a real aura of seasoned adventurers in them. Confidence, experience, and fortitude were noticeable in their every movement and word. The heroines asked if they were right in their assumptions about him, if they saw his true character and intentions. They also informed him that if the situation became too dangerous, he could always choose an escape route and run away without exposing himself to unnecessary risk. Minato sat quietly, accepting this freedom of choice and decision. He understood that the responsibility lay with him, but at the same time, no one would force him to take an unbearable risk. He began to think that the profession of an adventurer seemed very free and unpredictable. Taking the mug, he took a sip and said that if it was dangerous, he would simply run away, leaving the girls perplexed. Then he smiled mysteriously, which confused them even more. Minato added that he was looking forward to working together and having adventures. The girls began to talk about their unique abilities, looking forward to the challenges ahead. The night before departure was filled with excitement. The hero could not sleep. Thoughts overwhelmed him, exciting and disturbing him at the same time. Minato got out of bed, sat down at the table and plunged into deep thought, trying to sort out his feelings, fears and hopes that were seething inside him. He realized that he didn't want to remain in the role of the one being protected. He wanted to become a strong and equal member of the team, to contribute to the common cause. Minato realized that half of the spoils would go to him, and in order to get his share, he would need to put in maximum effort and reveal his full potential. He leaned back in his chair and yawned, feeling tired after a long day, but the inner fire of desire and determination was not extinguished. The hero realized that by improving his spells, he was beginning to understand their mechanisms more and more deeply, and now he wanted to create his own powerful attack spell, something unique and effective. His enthusiasm grew, and he decided to devote all his energy and time to this cause, sparing no effort. Minato worked diligently until late at night, not noticing how time flies, getting lost in complex formulas and magical tests. After some time, the spell was ready. It turned out to be complex and at the same time powerful, containing within itself the power capable of changing the course of the battle. The protagonist realized that casting this spell would require 80% of his mana, and wondered how risky it was and what the consequences might be. He realized that if the spell got out of control, it could damage not only the enemies, but the entire party, destroying everything around, and this made him treat magic with even greater responsibility. A sly smile appeared on his face. Perhaps the risk was worth it. Closing his little book, Minato decided to save this spell for later. The time for it would come. The hero could not find his companions, and admitted that it was hard for him to walk side by side with them. He felt a little insecure and overloaded. Suddenly, he heard the sounds of battle, and found the girls fighting the monster. Their courage and strength impressed Minato. Mania explained to her ally that the monster's magic was stored in its horn, the key to its weakness and victory. Amy immediately rushed into battle with the monster, without wasting a second and showing courage. The hero was shocked and stood with his mouth open, watching the girls' decisive actions. The girls informed Minato that they were able to eliminate the monster without his help, which made him momentarily feel like the odd one out on their team. Holding the slain monster in her arms, Amy firmly stated that, although they had done it on their own, Minato's job was to kill the local monsters and protect them, which gave him confidence and an understanding of his role. After this, the heroes decided to go down the huge spiral staircase, leading down to the next level of challenges and new adventures. The girls moved around these places with ease and confidence, which did not escape Minato's attention. He noticed their professionalism and experience. Minato noted to himself that they moved not like rookies from Mania, but like experienced adventurers, and this caused him to deeply respect and even admire their skills and courage. Amy was shocked by the scale of the place. The ruins were much larger and more impressive than she could have initially imagined. For all the heroes, these were the first such extensive ruins, evoking both admiration and awe of the unknown. The entrance to these ruins was almost completely blocked by dense and impenetrable vegetation, and to get inside, one had to have not only insight, but also experience in exploring such dangerous places. The hero, with a slight smile, asked Mania if she must be extremely dexterous and skilled to be able to find such a place, to which Mania replied that it was actually Amy's merit. The girl explained that she was just walking nearby and accidentally came across these ruins, which testified to her unusual and possibly magical abilities to navigate in places with secrets and adventures. The heroes gradually came to the understanding that Amy is truly special. She has unique talents and abilities that set her apart from others and make her an indispensable member of the team. At that moment, Amy suddenly caught a pleasant, alluring, and mysterious scent that seemed to guide her, awakening her inner sense and the desire to explore further. Following this scent, she soon found some treasure, an object that immediately interested her, and she took it in her hand, feeling excitement and anticipation of new discoveries. Amy continued to carefully examine the surroundings, sensing something important and special, as if she were a real treasure hunter. She had a keen sense of smell and sensitive perception that helped her stay one step ahead. The hero realized that even if he concentrated on searching with all his will and attention, he would hardly be able to find anything in this place without the help of allies or special skills. The moment of their first meeting came to mind when Amy had sniffed him carefully. At the time, it had seemed strange and even funny, but now he realized how important and symbolic this act had been. Minato asked her if the ruins she showed him last time were also discovered thanks to her ability to smell and navigate. Amy nodded in agreement, confirming that she was indeed using this unusual skill to find the right places and treasures in the ruins. The hero realized that he needed to be convinced of this and use such abilities for future searches. He said that there were many expensive magic stones inside the ruins, but the monsters there were also very dangerous. The heroine replied that blue stones were the most valuable and thanked the hero for the dinner. Mina, in turn, asked why Amy had started sniffing him then. The hero decided not to say that there were 240 stones. He did not want to spoil the mood and create unnecessary trouble. The girls thanked him for sharing lunch with Amy, showing concern and friendliness. Soon the heroes discovered a door behind which they could feel an evil and heavy aura. This made them anxious and increased the tension, foreshadowing the coming trials. They realized that this was where they had found what they were looking for, and this discovery inspired them and gave them the determination to continue on their way, despite the dangers. Minato realized that he had no right to make a mistake. The success of the entire group and the future fate of the team now depended on his actions. Mania began to slowly and carefully open the door, and Minato thought that the sooner they finished this business, the sooner he could go home and rest after all the difficulties. Mania explained that the only way to destroy the golem was to destroy its core, a vulnerable spot hidden inside its massive stone armor. She warned her comrades of the battle to come. The golem's body was completely covered in durable stone armor, making it virtually invulnerable to conventional attacks. The monster itself was a huge golem, a powerful creature with considerable strength and endurance, capable of inflicting devastating damage on its opponents. The role of distracting the golem's attention was assigned to Amy. She had to maneuver and attract the monster's attention to herself, allowing other members of the group to carry out an attack on a vulnerable point. Amy successfully did this, deftly avoiding the blows, and the monster swung at her, focusing specifically on her, allowing the group to take advantage. This strategy was especially effective against creatures that did not possess advanced intelligence. The golem acted on instinct, reacting to movement and sound, which made distraction an effective technique. The golem continued to get angry and tried to strike at Amy, swinging its massive limbs at her, but the girl demonstrated excellent reflexes and avoided the hits. While Amy distracted the monster, the girl and Minato managed to briefly discuss her excellent reflexes and agility, noting that such abilities were extremely important in combat with such strong opponents. At this time, Mina used her magical vision, a special ability that allows her to see hidden objects and weak points, and began searching for the golem's core inside the stone armor. She soon discovered the location of the core, the key element that, if destroyed, could defeat the golem. The heroine attacked the monster with determination, focusing her efforts on the golem's vulnerable core. Her attack was successful. She was able to land a precise blow that caused visible damage. Minato, observing Amy's actions, noted that her magic was indeed quite weak compared to the powers required to destroy such powerful creatures as a golem. To support her and strengthen the attack, Minato decided to use his own magical abilities. He summoned and fired a fire bullet, a powerful fire spell aimed directly at the monster. Soon, both heroes began casting spells simultaneously, with Amy continuing to distract and strike, and Minato strengthening them with his magic. Their combined efforts increased the effect of each attack. As a result of their coordinated work, powerful spells and blows managed to literally blow up the golem. The stone armor cracked and crumbled, and the monster was completely destroyed. After the victory, Mania turned to the young man, and he, without hiding his determination, said that he always gives his all in battle, no matter the circumstances. The hero added that his task was to replace 10 magicians at once, who, according to the plan, were supposed to be here and protect this place from monsters. At that moment, the girl thought that the young man had destroyed the golem with almost the first blow. So powerful and precise was his magic. At the same time, Minato thought that Mania might be overestimating and underestimating his own abilities, believing that he was not up to the task. Realizing that the fight was not over yet, and that the enemy could be dangerous, Minato decided to use an even more powerful spell to finally finish off the monster and protect his allies. Amy couldn't see anything because of the thick, dense smoke that rose into the air after the powerful explosions and magical attacks. Everything around her seemed blurry and unclear, which created a sense of uncertainty and wariness in the team. Visibility was almost completely blocked, and the heroine was forced to rely on hearing and intuition. Minato was so carried away by the fight and the desire to destroy the golem that he sent 10 powerful blows in a row at the monster. His magic was concentrated and strong. He continued to speak confidently and decisively, stating that he always gives his best in every battle and does not intend to slow down the intensity of his attacks, no matter the situation. At this time, the heroine screamed that the explosions were so loud that her ears were starting to hurt, and the noise and pressure of magic were creating discomfort and preventing her from concentrating. She quickly turned around and realized with surprise and slight fear that the golem was no longer there. The huge monster with which a fierce battle had just been waged was now invisible in the thick smoke and dust. Her ally, Mania, explained that what they were seeing now was all that was left of the golem after their combined efforts and powerful attacks. It was a clear sign of victory and how strong their team was. Minato realized that he may have overdone it a bit with the strength of his attacks, as his power and forcefulness, while effective, had frightened the girls and created additional tension. He asked the girls if he had completed his task, wanting confirmation that his actions were correct and effective. The girls looked at him with obvious bewilderment and slight surprise, perhaps not accustomed to such an assertive and confident manner of fighting. Minato calmly stated that now all they had to do was return to the guild. Their mission was complete and they could move on. Mania and Amy looked at him with their mouths open, amazed at his confidence and calm after such an intense battle. Minato ignored their reactions, focusing on confirming that it was good that the work was finished and now they could move on to the next stage. The girls, with a hint of pity and uncertainty, asked if they could follow him, wanting to stay close and continue their studies under his guidance. At that moment, Minato realized that in their eyes, he had become a person who could truly be relied upon, which gave him confidence and a sense of responsibility for the team and its future destiny. The heroes finally reached their destination, as reported by Amy, who was closely following the landmark. Minato heard her voice, but he couldn't figure out where exactly to look for the treasure among the surrounding ruins and thickets. He carefully searched everything around, but quickly realized that he could not cope with this task alone. Without hints and experience, it was extremely difficult to search. Minato wondered if he had developed the ability to sense treasures. He caught a strange smell that seemed important and unusual to him. However, it turned out to be the smell of food, a signal that it was time for a lunch break, and all the heroes relaxed a little. Previously, Minato could only afford simple boxed lunches bought from the supermarket, so he was grateful to his companions for the food they prepared. Having started to eat, he noted with surprise that the meat turned out to be simply ideal, tasty and filling, something he had not experienced for a long time. Mania revealed that it was food from frogs that Minato had caught especially for them, adding a bit of hunting romance to their journey. The young man realized that it didn't matter what kind of animal he caught. The main thing was that the dish was tasty and helped him restore his strength. During this time, the guys became a truly well-coordinated team, learning to support and help each other. Mania advised Minato to protect Amy so that she could safely search the ruins for treasures and useful items. At the same time, the girl began to look at her ally with admiration, noting his strength, abilities, and rich combat experience, which inspired confidence. Minato asked curiously how far they planned to go today, and what the immediate plans were for their expedition, wanting to better understand the tasks ahead. The girl replied that a lot would depend on Amy's instincts. She is the one who senses the approach of danger and determines in which direction to move further, leading the team in difficult conditions. After a short discussion, everyone decided that it would be better to walk a little more today and study the rest tomorrow, so as not to rush and reduce the risks in dangerous terrain. Amy put down her plate of food, and it turned out that she had eaten the entire cauldron. This fact surprised and amused the rest of the team, causing good-natured laughter and a light joke at their expense. The girl thought deeply, focusing on the tasks ahead and the possible obstacles that might arise along the way. Finally, she confidently pointed her finger in the direction they should go next, warning that they might encounter a fairly strong enemy on the way, which they should be prepared for. Minato asked how strong this golem would be, but Amy admitted that she didn't know for sure. Much would depend on the circumstances and conditions of the meeting. she added with a smile that the air smelled very tempting and delicious, as if nature itself was inviting them to action, and briskly ran forward, leading the team to the next test. Mania immediately realized that the enemy guarding the treasure was very strong and posed a serious threat to the entire group. He was clearly protecting a whole and valuable treasure, so the battle promised to be difficult. She asked Minato if he was ready to fight such a strong enemy. The hero answered confidently that if the enemy was equal in strength to himself, then he would cope with the task and would not let the team down. At this time, Amy was surprised to notice that the hero had already destroyed many opponents, but his mana supply seemed to not even be depleted yet. Mania explained that Minato had a very high mana level, and although it had dropped slightly during the fight, she was sure that he still had enough power. The hero realized that nothing was escaping her. The girl added that the work of an adventurer is not only the search for valuable treasures, but also the ability to assess the situation in time. If the danger becomes too great, they will have to make a difficult decision. In that case, they would be forced to retreat and flee to save their strength and lives. This was an important rule that none of them were going to break. The hero agreed to this plan, and the next moment, Amy was already running forward to explore the area and find the storage. She soon came across a magical vault that could store valuable items and treasures, protected from external influences. Amy asked Minato if he had any space left in the spatial storage to put the things he found there. She threw him a magical item, and it sparkled in the air, emitting a soft glow as if it had a will of its own. The young man caught the magical objects one by one, as if they were part of a carefully rehearsed ritual, demonstrating dexterity and concentration. Each object fell into his hands precisely and without error. The young man carefully examined one of the things he found and suddenly felt a strange sense of déjà vu. This object seemed unusually familiar to him, as if he had seen it before in another life. At that moment, Mania came close enough to him and, so as not to attract the attention of those around him, quietly, almost in a whisper, said that he was holding a magic transmitter in his hands. Mania began to tell in detail that she knew everything about this artifact, its history of creation, its principle of operation, and its rarity among magical items. She emphasized that such an artifact costs a lot of money, and such items are very rare, so it is considered very expensive and desirable on the market of magical things. Hearing this, the hero realized that half of the profit from the sale of this transmitter would go to him. The hero looked closely at the device and thought that in essence it really did look like a means of communication. Remembering his past, he realized that it was with the help of this device that he once learned attack magic. He also realized that this item was much more powerful and functional than a regular transmitter. Its capabilities went far beyond simple communication, which made it especially valuable. Minato showed this valuable find to Mania, and she was genuinely surprised when she saw the device in person. Her eyes lit up with admiration and amazement. Mania looked at the item in Amy's hand with disapproval, and said that it was just a piece of trash, of no value and not even worth attention. She called Amy closer and firmly told her not to pick up such trash in the future. It was a trifle and only distracted her from important matters. The girl meekly apologized for her mistake and hurried to throw the item away. But just as Amy threw the thing aside, Minato's voice cut through the air as he shouted sharply to stop her. With a quick movement, he caught the object in midair, despite warnings that it was useless. Minato said he wanted to try experimenting with it. He pressed the object, but nothing happened. No flashes, sounds, or changes. After analyzing the situation, the hero thought that it was unlikely that the device was broken and decided that it was worth trying to pour some mana into it. Magical energy that can activate hidden mechanisms. Mania watched him with bewilderment. She did not understand that mana could be transferred to objects and did not suspect such subtleties of magic. Minato realized that even experts in ancient ruins did not know many of these secrets, and the gap in knowledge was large. So he decided not to rely on outside help and explain everything himself. Suddenly, Amy said that they had to go back, her voice sounding anxious, as if something elusive had caught her attention. The boys didn't understand what exactly had happened and didn't ask questions. Amy admitted that she didn't know what had happened, but she felt that she needed to leave. She rushed forward, quickly running along the right tunnel, and the others followed her without hesitation. Their run was swift. The doors began to slam behind them, as if the ruins had decided to cut off their way back. The heroes barely managed to slip through one of the closing doors in time. They noticed with horror that the back exit had also closed, as had all the other passages, leaving them as if trapped. It seemed that this strange locking system covered absolutely every door in the ancient ruins, preventing them from exiting the same way. In a panic, Imi turned to Minato and asked if he could destroy the door with magic. The hero immediately began to cast a spell, concentrating all his strength and mana energy on destroying the barrier. But Minato soon realized that his spells were powerless. The doors turned out to be extremely resistant to magic, as if they were made of some special material or protected by ancient spells. At the most tense moment, Mena suddenly lost consciousness, falling onto the cold stone floor. The boys were horrified and began to worry about her. It looked like she might not come to her senses anytime soon. Suddenly, Mena opened her eyes and, with a serious expression on her face, warned everyone to prepare to defend themselves. Minato instantly took over the defense and began casting a powerful barrier spell, protecting the girls from possible danger. The walls around them began to crack and crumble into dust, and it was this destruction that opened up a new passage for them. Amy noticed something strange ahead. At first glance, it looked like some kind of machine, a strange mechanism, unfamiliar to them until now. The heroes paused, watching the object as the thick fog cleared, adding a sense of mystery and anticipation to the scene. Suddenly, a huge beast flew out from behind the car, a mechanized creature whose terrifying appearance made the blood run cold. The job of adventurers was usually to find valuable treasures and avoid serious dangers. If the threat became too great, they would immediately run. But now there was a big question: how to escape. From the clouds of acrid smoke and ash, a mechanical dragon suddenly emerged, woven from black metal and magical energies. Its titanium wings spread out, blocking out the sunlight, its mouth lined with glittering fangs. The dragon opened its mouth threateningly. Minato thought that he had finally met him. He had been waiting for this meeting for a long time. He knew that he would stand here and fight the dragon. The machine suddenly raised its tail, covered in shiny scales that glinted in the dim light. The powerful muscles beneath the scaly covering tensed, demonstrating a strength capable of shattering bones with a single blow. The guy's eyes widened at the approaching danger. He didn't expect such pressure from the car. It surprised him, but it certainly didn't confuse him. He was ready for this. He is always ready for danger. He abruptly pushed the girl next to him away, in an attempt to save her. He was afraid for her. He wanted only one thing, that none of his companions would suffer now. It would only hinder him. Amy called the guy sharply. She didn't want to put him in danger. She was afraid for his life more than her own. She was very worried about him. At that moment, her heart sank with fear for the guy's life. The dragon attacked. He swung his tail with all his might. Chaos and destruction surrounded him. He was not going to spare anyone. He wanted only one thing: to destroy everything around him, as well as the uninvited guests in front of him. Minato flew down. The machine attacked so hard that it destroyed the ground under the guy's feet. The girl's eyes widened. Because the guy was in danger, they needed to come up with something urgently. The guy fell to the ground. He was lying on the ground, all wounded and tired. The blow hit his head hard. For a second, the guy felt very bad, and for a few extra seconds, he lay on the ground, coming to his senses. The dragon tried to attack again, opening its huge mouth, but Minato couldn't dodge, and flew into the wall from a strong blow from the car. Again, a strong blow to the head. Bloody guy slowly flowed down the guy's face. The guy was called loudly. The girls were very worried about him. They were ready to protect him at the cost of their lives, so such a picture scared them very much. The guy was badly injured. They were very worried about this. Lying on the ground, the guy understands that it is very good that in his past life, he was hit by a magic car. He coughed, spitting out some blood. The blow was really very strong. There was a loud buzzing in the guy's head. Thanks to this, he can think clearly in a shocking situation. He thinks that first he needs to strengthen the magic. Thoughts about saving his life and the lives of the girls begin to flash in his head. The guy looked at the dragon, noticing that the machine was fully focused on him. He approved of this, and several magic circles appeared from his hands. The guy hoped that the girls had managed to escape. Minato used the magic of the enhanced fire bullet. Several shots flew at the dragon, which should have definitely made traces of destruction. They dangerously exploded right on the metal of the dragon. The guy looks sternly at the puff of smoke in which the dragon hid. He hopes that his magic helped. he watches carefully as the fog slowly dissipates, also slowly revealing a view of the dragon's body. From the huge pile of dust emerged the dragon's head, completely whole and unharmed, the metal still shining brightly, without a single scratch, without any injury or trace of the recent explosion. Minato looked at the machine, realizing that his attack didn't work. He didn't want to believe it. His eyes widened. He hoped for his strength. But it didn't help him. It was really surprising for the guy. The guy wipes his face and realizes that this monster is much stronger than those golems he is going to. Suddenly the guy was called loudly. In the voice one could hear anxiety and a desire to help the guy. He turned his head and saw the girls who were supposed to leave, but they stood proudly in place. They were not going to leave. Their faces expressed determination to help and readiness for any danger. Minato wonders why they didn't leave in such a dangerous situation. He had previously given them the order to leave here, but they stood still, never left or abandoned him. On the contrary, they were ready to help. Or do adventurers not care about their lives at all? The guy studied the dragon more closely. He has sensors that can detect them even through walls, and he just reflected a projectile that the guy could have used to destroy any monster. He understands that there is no way out. Otherwise, they will all die. Someone shouted that he would definitely think of something. In such a situation, they urgently needed to act. Otherwise, all three could get hurt, or even worse. Amy proudly holds some kind of ball in her hand and says that this thing is very expensive. The guy wonders if she is really going to defeat him with this ball, and what is this strange thing on her waist? Suddenly the girl took off, heading straight towards the dragon to attack, her eyes shining with determination. She was fully prepared to protect the guy and fight the dragon. He would show the machine who was stronger here. Minato looked at the device that made her fly and thought that this thing was incredible. It was the first time he had seen something like this, and he was very surprised to see something as amazing as this device. Amy quickly flies around the dragon. The machine tries to keep track of her and turns its head in a circle. The guy understands that the dragon is completely confused and tried very hard to keep track of the girl, but the mechanical neck could not. Mania ran closer due to the large amount of blood on the guy's face and asked if he could fight, to which he received a positive answer and a request not to worry. While the guy was drinking the potion, he asked how the girl was fighting with this strange glowing thing. He was really concerned about this question. There was genuine interest in his eyes. Amy shouted that she was okay, and Mania decided to explain how it all worked. After all, the guy's eyes were shining with curiosity, and he was not against explaining. The girl explained that this is a common magical weapon for provocation. It emits light that demons cannot resist. The dragon will definitely not be able to take his eyes off the girl, who flies very quickly and loudly nearby. Minato was surprised and asked again, "Is that all?" Mania answered that that was all, that this little device does nothing as amazing as the guy thought. Everything turned out to be much simpler. Emi called out to Minato sharply. She was screaming very loudly, because she was somewhere up there, flying next to the dragon, distracting all his attention to herself. The girl began to pose beautifully in the air, and said that she would do everything possible to arouse the dragon's wrath upon herself, and promised to do it in the blink of an eye. She is happy that she will definitely do everything. Minato does not understand why she is saying all this. He was surprised by the girl's character. She could always surprise him. Her manner of speech always surprised everyone around her. Amy saw that even the guy's improved magic didn't work, and he has no idea which of his magic will work and which won't. The girl continues to fly and anger the dragon. The guy thought about it and realized that he had an idea. It could help them in their difficult situation. Now it was worth using all his thoughts. Anything could help now. He came up with this last night. As funny as it sounds it only dawned on him last night. He decided to share this strange plan with the girls, hoping that they would understand it. Minato suddenly changed his mind, realizing that if he used it now, they themselves would be caught in the flash and die. It was a very dangerous and questionable plan, but it was definitely worth a try. Mania called out to Amy sharply, her voice filled with wild fear and concern for the girl upstairs. The dragon gathered all his strength to create a huge fireball, which was ready to attack the girl who was flying nearby. The guy was surprised that he also used fire. The ball exploded suddenly, leaving behind smoke and dust. A dangerous bright light eclipsed everything with its presence. Nothing could be seen behind it, but suddenly the fog began to dissipate, slowly revealing a view of the painting. The girl was hit and quickly flew away from this huge ball, screaming that all this was unfair. She was very scared by such an unexpected action on the part of the dragon. Now she is in a panic. Suddenly, a huge number of the same fireballs appeared around. They hit Imi. She flew away from them in panic, trying to save herself. Minato realizes that she is too fast. Mania took the guy by the sleeve and called to him to draw his attention to herself. She shared that she thought the guy was amazing because he managed to move in a situation where she was in a state of complete numbness. She admired the guy's abilities. Mania added that he did it with the same magic that he used to kill the golem, and said to do the same with this dragon. She was completely confident in his strength and abilities. Minato realizes that the current situation is different from the one back then, since he couldn't even hurt the dragon, let alone try to destroy it. He approaches Mina, saying that he can probably find his weak points with his magical vision, and she responds that his magic is too strong. Mania became embarrassed and started saying that if it would help the guy, Minato realized that it had started again. He felt very uncomfortable with the state of the girls around him. Amy loudly asks the guy to make a mess here. The guy thought about the reckless use of force. It was dangerous in the current situation. But the girl was confident in her words. Mina says something about helping the guy. Minato thought about the girl leaving reality. He was disappointed in his team. One wants to destroy everything. The second had a panic attack. The guy stands sternly and wonders if the end of the world is really that close. After all, in this state they definitely won't be able to defeat the huge mechanical dragon that was flying nearby, threatening. The dragon opened its wide mouth, preparing to attack with a fire sphere. The huge fireball was filled with bright light and energy that threatened to destroy everything around it. Amy ran away from his blows, asking the guy to hurry up. She was panicking more and more, because the guy did not start to act, and the girl was now in great danger. Minato closed her eyes, realizing that he couldn't defeat the dragon. He assessed his strength. His thoughts came to one. He couldn't handle it. The guy believed that his strength was definitely not enough. The guy thought, since the fire shells weren't affecting him, that meant he needed to come up with something urgently before the dragon attacked again and destroyed everything around, otherwise they wouldn't survive this battle. He raised his hand up, casting a huge number of magic circles, realizing that if it didn't work now, then this would be his last fight. He needed to act urgently. But Minato knows that he should still try, otherwise they will end up in even more danger than they are now, and he definitely doesn't need that kind of trouble right now. He tried to use the improved fire bullet. Again, the power shining in his hand again. He wanted to try to destroy this huge mechanical dragon. Each magic circle created a huge fireball in preparation for an attack. The room filled with dangerous light from each huge ball. They threatened to destroy everything they could reach. In an instant, all the balls began to explode at the same time, trying to injure the huge dragon. Explosions came from every corner. The entire room was covered with strong streams of wind and dust after the explosions. Mania noticed that this was a massive attack from all sides, and was very surprised. She was scared by such a number of dangerous explosions near her. Such a number of fireballs would have scared anyone. The boy looked sternly at the dragon that was being hit by his attacks. He hoped that it would work. There was a strong hope shining in his eyes that his plan would work, he hoped. The car emerged from under the smoke created by the attack. Whole and invisible, it flew into the air. The wings were intact. There was not a single scratch. The car was completely gone and unharmed. Mania covered her mouth in shock that even such an attack didn't work. The guy abruptly interrupted her, answering negatively. He didn't want to believe it. It was one of his strongest attacks. He explained that this attack was aimed at finding a weak point. Minato added that the weak point is a special channel on his neck that twists and wriggles. The guy is glad that they were able to quickly find a weak point. He concluded that he needed to hit right at that point, and directed all his energy to the right place on the dragon's neck. The only thing that could resist magic was lightning magic. He believed that it would definitely work. It was the guy's last hope for success and victory over the machine. And with other magic, it will be very convenient to split the surface of the dragon. Minato's eyes widened. Realizing that it worked, the lightning magic worked, and was able to break the shield on top of the dragon. He hit the target. The desired point began to fall apart into pieces, revealing the insides of the dragon. The wires and small parts were just pulling him towards them, so he could break them and defeat the dragon. But suddenly the dragon gathered his strength. The guy was surprised. It turns out nothing worked. The machine took off into the air with renewed vigor, threatening to take revenge on the team for its injuries. Minato understands that this will all end badly. The dragon brought its huge mouth very close, as if preparing to grab someone present with its metal teeth. To remove this metal, ordinary enhanced magic is not enough, Besides, Minato took out a small notebook, realizing that since they had no choice but to use this magic, he hoped that they would be lucky and survive. He gathered his strength to attack again. The huge machine opened its mouth again, preparing a huge fireball. It was bigger than the old one. The fiery light threateningly illuminated the room, and warmed with its size, the dragon was preparing to release it and destroy the people nearby. Amy loudly asked why the dragon was aiming at her, and again she flew to the side so that the machine would not have time to aim at her and shoot. The girl tried to fly as fast as possible. Suddenly the guy realized something. The realization of something overwhelmed him. His eyes were wide open in great surprise. The guy was surprised that the dragon attacked Amy and not him, even though he was the most dangerous. It was very strange and very illogical, because the guy was much more dangerous than the girl. The provocation of this magical object turned out to be stronger than the guy thought. It lured the dragon to itself very well. He did not even notice that the guy was much stronger. He was chasing the girl. Suddenly, a huge piece of the building fell. Mania conjured a protective circle that was able to save the guy from the blow. She was very scared, but glad that she managed to save him. The guy wondered if this was the protective magic of this world and thanked the girl. He was truly grateful to her for saving his life. Did the battle partially destroy this strong building? Because of the debris, the boy lost sight of the mechanical dragon. His eyes widened, darting around to find the dragon he had lost a while ago. Minato put his hands on his hips and sighed heavily. This was a really tough situation. The guy was tired. He just hoped to get out alive. He thought that he wouldn't cope and would turn into ashes, but everything turned out differently. He was still alive, as were the girls nearby. Everyone was healthy, and it was wonderful. He was not allowed to perform an act of self-sacrifice. He forgot how best to act in such a situation. His memory decided to fail him at such a moment, at a very inopportune time. I forgot that I need to trust people. Such a simple, but at the same time, such a complex thing as trust. With a bright smile, Minato turned sharply to Mania. This gentle smile definitely did not promise anything good. Some dangerous plan had matured in his head, which only the guy knew. The guy said that there really is magic with which they can win. The girl got embarrassed and said that the guy had such a face as if he was planning something. Minato, with the same smile, clarified that he would need help. The girl asked in a panic, maybe it was not worth it. This smile looked as businesslike as possible. The guy summed up that they had no time to argue and called Amy sharply. Mania sharply asked what all these words were for, but the guy was no longer listening to her. He wanted to start his plan. The girl loudly asked what they wanted from her. Amy's instrument was apparently running out of magic. She was no longer flying as boldly and not as high as at the very beginning of the battle. Minato said that the dragon most likely does not like the girl very much and will ask her to rise as high as possible, then throw the ball and fly at full speed towards them. The girl was very surprised by such a plan. Mania was also shocked and asked what the guy was up to. Minato showed her something. A small magic ball appeared in his hand and fit into his palm. This small ball began to grow and a huge protective ball appeared around the couple, forming a strong and very strong shield that even this mechanical dragon could not penetrate. Mania smiled and asked what kind of wonderful magic it was. She called it graceful. She added that she saw such a spell for the first time. For her, it was just a miracle, and something completely new. She had never seen anything like it. The girl wanted to say something else, but the guy interrupted her and handed over the magic circle that holds this shield. Now their safety is in her hands. He, without thinking, decided to do something else and took a step away from the girl. The guy moved the circle to her scepter, handing over their protection into her hands. Now the responsibility lies entirely with the girl. Suddenly, an unknown force began to give off a huge force to Mania's body. She turned into jelly, began to shake violently, as if she could not hold the force in herself. The girl was shaking violently and asked the guy to wait, because the magic was being absorbed. Minato replied that everything was fine and suddenly noticed something and turned all his attention there. Mania doesn't use defense magic very effectively. If a guy uses it, its cost will decrease and its power will increase. He put his hand on the notepad, knowing they were ready. Determination was burning in his eyes. He was going to put all his strength into winning. He was ready to destroy the mechanical dragon, using magic within the walls that repel it to release this low-quality magic. It sounded like a really cool plan, but it was still life-threatening for all three of them. Keep away from their object. He cast a protective spell on Mania so that the consequences would not hurt him. He didn't care about himself. He was ready to protect the girl with his life. He could not allow her to be hurt. The guy understands that it would be worth waiting, but they no longer have time. Somewhere above, Amy is screaming loudly. She does not like that the dragon almost grabbed her with its claws. The guy noticed that the dragon rose high into the sky. Minato gave the command to Amy to act immediately. There was no time to waste. Now, it was necessary to attack, and as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the danger would be greater. The girl turned to the guy, grabbed hold of him, and threw the ball in her hand with all her might, screaming loudly. She was angry at the dragon and was ready to strangle him with her bare hands. Minato sat on the ground, starting to cast a spell. A magic circle appeared around him. The circle began to increase in size, filling all the space around. A huge magic circle appeared under the dragon which the guy had conjured. Shining brightly under it, it threatened to destroy everything that was above it. The magic circle began to shine. Minato understood that he had created real crazy magic. But he was not going to stop. It was too late to retreat. There was no way back. To put magic into such a circle, time is needed, and not a small amount of it. It was necessary to try hard not to make a mistake in such a serious matter. The guy had to make it all easier. His stats have been greatly weakened. Not counting his mana consumption, his magic consumption is only 8% of his total power. Amy quickly flew to them and asked to be let into the protective circle. The dragon moved closer to the huge magic circle, as if something was pressing on him, forcing him to get closer to the very center of the circle. Minato realizes that he is using up his strength too quickly. It was dangerous and could have ended very badly for the guy. He needed to put in a lot of effort to not make a mistake. He understands that something needs to be done about this urgently, otherwise he will not be able to withstand such an onslaught of force. The guy started casting a spell to determine the location of the target. The magic sphere began to shine brighter, giving off a dangerous shine, preparing to destroy the target set by the guy. A huge amount of dark energy began to gather in one place at a rapid speed. Powerful streams flew in one direction, namely towards the dragon, covering it completely, hiding it from prying eyes. A huge sphere, made entirely of dark energy, gathered around the mechanical dragon, covering it with a threatening wave, preparing to destroy everything inside it at any moment. Suddenly, a huge flash of light appeared, which hid absolutely everything behind its light. It blinded everyone present with its bright radiance. A broken dragon appeared. Almost all the parts were broken, all the internal mechanisms were exposed. The machine was weakened and unable to move. It could no longer attack. The guy smiled at his future victory. Now he was sure that his plan would work. Determination lit up his eyes again with renewed vigor. He was ready to attack. He applied his hands to the magic circle with renewed vigor, and it once again glowed with its brightest light, illuminating everything around the group of people. The energy began to gather around the dragon again, threatening to do the same thing it had done before, to break the dragon into small parts again in order to finish off the huge monster. It was quiet outside. Time flowed as usual. Birds sang, grass grew, but suddenly, from the building, which stood in complete silence, a destructive light appeared in an instant. A huge hole appeared in the ceiling, against the backdrop of which a mechanical dragon was slowly dying. Parts were falling from it. They no longer had anything to hold on to. The dragon weakened and was completely broken. The parts from the machine began to fall rapidly downwards, destroying everything in their path. They were huge. As soon as they fell, they would crush everything they fell on. Mania panicked, screaming that a huge part was falling right on them. The guy ordered to immediately change the protective magic. The guy instantly strengthened the magic shield and was able to save them from the blow of the largest part that remained after the dragon. He smiled, happy that everything had worked out. Now he could relax. They had defeated the dragon. They had been able to do it, despite all the difficulties. They had been able to. The guy relaxed, saying that they managed to escape and was ready to fall from fatigue. Amy was very worried about him. Because the guy tried so hard, it's not surprising that he began to fall off his feet. Suddenly, the floor beneath the team's feet began to slowly fall down, huge bricks trying to fall down, dragging everyone standing on it down with them. All three of them flew down into the void. No one understood anything. Everyone was in a state of shock. All they could do was open their eyes wide and fly down, like heavy stones that were thrown into the water. The guy opened his eyes, realizing that both girls fell right on him. He felt how heavy it was for him. There were two of them, which is why the weight that landed on his back was too heavy for an ordinary person. As it turned out, there were more floors below, which is why they couldn't escape. The building was amazing, with several floors inside itself and too strong to destroy it. Mana panicked and started asking if the guy knew what kind of magic it was. The guy was happy that everything was fine, everyone was safe and sound, so he could breathe a sigh of relief. They were alive, and that was the most important thing. Minato explained that he had come up with his attack just yesterday. The girl was surprised. He added that he was sure of it because this was the first magic he had used. The girl was even more surprised. The guy suggests moving on. Because they had been sitting here for a long time, Amy went a little deeper and said that there were not bad planets here. She was too interested to see what exactly was inside the building that they destroyed with such difficulty. The guy turned to her sharply and said that it was time for them to go, but he didn't see the girl. He lost sight of her. She had already gone deeper into the building. This made the guy panic. Because anything could happen to her, they were here for the first time. The girl replied that there was something deep inside, hinting that Mana and Minato should come to her and see it with their own eyes. She couldn't put it all into words. It would be better for them to see it themselves. And she added that it was something big. It was an amazing sight for her. She really wanted to show it to her comrades. The guy walked forward, heading towards the girl. He walked very carefully, because it was unknown what could be hidden in the darkness of this strange building, in which the heroes almost died. Before their eyes appeared a huge laboratory, which could surprise everyone with its scale. In it were huge flasks, much larger than a normal person. All this looked very creepy and could frighten everyone. The girl asked Minato what it was. She was extremely interested, but she could only ask the guy. For her, he was the smartest person in the whole world. Ima called it Deus Ex Machina and asked again, "What is this?" The guy just looked at everything with wide open eyes. He himself saw this for the first time, and what he saw now in front of him was too surprising for him. In front of them stood a huge flask with something inside. An unknown liquid was inside. A strange, huge flask. It only caused goosebumps and a strong feeling of fear. An unknown computer turned on. Something started to be printed on it in unknown hieroglyphs. They looked strange and very unusual. No one could read them. There were more and more hieroglyphs with each passing second. In the silence of this building, only the computer was working, breaking the deathly silence with its presence. A small room on the 3rd floor for the meeting of the Mania Guild. All 3 of them were lying tired on the table. Ima was very upset that she couldn't take the car with her. She was too tired to complain too loudly. That machine that was in the ruins. It was huge, very similar to the artificial magical intelligence that had gone wild earlier in the guy's past life. Mana replied that the girl would not have been able to drag that car with her, saying that it was very huge and there would be nowhere to store it. Ima sadly agreed. This Deus Ex machine is created by combining 13 magical arithmetic units. It was believed that during the escape, all machines except 12 disappeared without a trace. However, they came to this world, so it can be assumed. Mana clenched her fist, saying that she had had enough of this pittance. She was too tired of all this. The work was becoming unbearable for her because of the low pay. Eventually, they ran out of magic and energy. After finding out that the machine was broken, they took the treasures from that room and returned to the guild. The girl added that she was glad to think that everyone was safe and sound. After such difficult adventures, it really gave her joy that they were all alive and well. Ima started giggling, saying that by working hard, they were able to obtain 36 magical communicators worth 720 million zigs. The girl had a very greedy expression on her face. She was very greedy for money and loved it too much. The source of the good intuition turned out to be the magical communicators and other equipment that were in abundance in that room with the machines. The girl is glad that she was able to get these devices. Amy ran jumping and dancing all over the room, happy that she had never had so much money in her hands before. She plans to buy herself the best meat. She asks the guy to smile and asks if he will have something. Mina interrupts her and says that they can't cash the money. She has slightly different plans for the money, and the amount is not small at all. It can be spent not only on food and entertainment, but also on something more valuable. Ima stopped abruptly and was very surprised by such a statement. She wanted to spend this money too much and buy delicious meat. The thought that she would not get her money upset her too much. The girl took it, saying that such a device would be enough for production in the country for several years, and added that it would be difficult to immediately cash out such an amount in the guild. Amy did not like this. She wanted meat. Mana continued, saying that first they would divide the devices between themselves. The team was lucky that there were 36 of them and they could be divided between everyone. The girl added that they needed to sell some things to the guild, and pointed to a box nearby. Ima crept up from behind and scared her friend, who became very scared. Mana scolded. She asks to stop scaring tired people, not for the first time. She added that this thing is very dangerous. That thing is a disposable magic source that explodes if handled incorrectly. It is forbidden to keep such things, and it is advisable to sell them to the guild immediately if someone finds them. Ima asked in a panic not to let the magic power leak out, because it is dangerous. Mania shouted back that everything is fine. The guy remembers that this happened in his past life, but to work with him there was a license for the transportation of dangerous goods. He was interested in the fact that his past world and this one are somehow similar to each other. Suddenly, in the window right behind the guy, something exploded very loudly. The explosion was so powerful that even the windows shook from such a loud and strong explosion. Minato turned around, trying to understand what was going on. There was no panic in his eyes. He was too tired. But his eyes showed a strong interest in this situation. He wondered if something had exploded. It wasn't every day that you saw explosions so powerful that even the windows would shake with all their might. Amy was already sitting under the table, saying that she was very scared. She pulled her knees up to herself. Showing her genuine fear with her whole appearance, she was quietly trembling under the table, trying to hide from danger. The guy looked out the window, realizing that the sound was coming straight from the ruins. It worried him too much, because the explosion was too strong. He couldn't just leave it all without attention. Mania noticed that the noise was coming from much further away than she thought. Minato added that it was all right in the depths of the forest, which was very strange. Creating such explosions in the forest is very dangerous. Suddenly, noise began to come from the lower floors. The guy didn't like it very much. The screams of people from the lower floors were so loud that the company could hear every word they said. A crowd of people ran into the unknown. A bunch of legs running as if in a panic, escaping from someone or something. As if the explosion scared them much more than Amy. Mania closed her eyes, sinking into her own thoughts. Everyone agreed that they were terribly tired, and something else was happening here. They definitely didn't have time for that. Now, the fatigue was much stronger than the desire to give in to panic, which the people below had. The girl added that until they gained strength, they would not be able to undertake anything at all. The guy agreed. He himself understood perfectly well how tired they were. Mania perked up and said that all they could do now was write a purchase or sale application, and then eat and sleep. For them, this was the most ideal plan right now, rather than saving the city. Everyone agreed, because they didn't want to get into trouble. Amy just wanted meat and didn't even think about the people below or any danger. Fatigue and the desire to eat were much stronger. Mania brought the application to the guy and said that the only thing missing was his signature. Minato glanced at the application. He understood the words catch salesperson and accompanying person, but he couldn't understand the meaning of the word main contributor. Mania replied that it was for this reason that he could receive rewards from the guild and the country for his great achievements. All his deeds and efforts spent should not go unrewarded. The guy thought about it and said that when you use a lot of magic, it's strange to be a big investor. He really didn't understand it, but he wasn't going to go into it further. The girls laughed out loud, laughing loudly at the guy's words about magic. His words easily brought the girls to tears from laughter. Mania said that they wouldn't write lies in the application. Ima added that the biggest contributor is Minato himself, without a doubt. The girl added that it was all because the guy used a little magic and asked him to be content with that. There was pride in her voice. The guy simply remained silent. He couldn't find what to answer the girls in such a situation. Because he himself didn't fully understand all of this, it was still too difficult for him. He realized this was some kind of special bonus. Mania called everyone to go forward. It was necessary to go down and find out what was happening below and what kind of explosion it was. Minato was surprised because he heard footsteps heading towards them. They were very fast. As if someone was panicking and looking for something or someone, they seemed to be steps full of fear and hope. This really does sound like the truth. Suddenly, a man ran into their room. Panic was written on his face. He loudly asked if there was a sage here. He hoped to hear a positive answer. He urgently needed a sage. Mania was surprised when she saw Mr. Rice. She did not expect to see him here at all. For her, it was strange and unusual. The girl asked, "Did something happen?" The guy behind Ima was quietly damp. Who was it? She answered that it was the leader of the Mania Guild. Minato realized that it was a big shot. The man said that he urgently needed help. He promised details when they were on the way and asked to go with him. The guy thought that the matter was very serious, since the leader himself came for help. The guy asked sharply if this was related to the recent explosion. Now he was interested in this case. Even despite his fatigue, he wanted to sort this all out and as soon as possible. The gentleman sharply drew his eyebrows together. Minato didn't like this serious expression. The gentleman looked closely at the guy in front of him and asked about his rank and profession. Minato answered with a serious face that he was an E-rank mage. The man rubbed the bridge of his nose and sighed heavily. He turned to Mania and said that she could stay in the room and he would call her if the girl needed help. Mania, she wanted to say something about the guy, but Rice abruptly interrupted her. She said that this was a situation where her magical power would be just enough. Minato exhaled, realizing that he was given time to rest. He apologized to someone in his mind, realizing that he might be neglecting girls, but if there is a special ability or knowledge, then so be it. He is a beginner, his rank is not high enough, and he has almost no strength left. Emma suddenly approached the man and shouted not to underestimate Minato, which scared Rice. The girl continued saying that the guy was the best of the best, that he had defeated many monsters and a terrible dragon with amazing magic. She wanted to say that the guy was very wise, but he abruptly closed the girl's mouth, saying that he would wait for the instructions of the man in this room. He could not let her finish. Mania suddenly moved closer to her team. She quietly asked if the guy didn't want anyone to know about this. The guy also quietly replied that he didn't want to stand out. The girl's eyes shone with some strange confidence. The girl stepped in front of them with a serious expression on her face, asking Minato to accompany them or else they wouldn't go anywhere, which the guy didn't like at all. Minato realized that he would have to go and help someone again. The guy yawned loudly, thinking about the fact that he hadn't slept since yesterday. He asked sharply if he could find out what rank the girls were, and Emma replied that they were B rank. Minato realized that they were veteran adventurers. A crowd of people had gathered below, shouting loudly and rejoicing over something, preparing for some kind of business. Minato thinks it's truly breathtaking. The men loudly discussed power and making money. Another company discussed a certain amount that they could handle, and again money. Rice said that the reconnaissance group's report should arrive very soon in order to wait here. Mania, although a city with many new adventurers. But everyone who gathered here, they're elites. You can understand it, just look at their physique. Mania approached the man and asked what happened. The man was happy to see her. He said that a huge number of monsters were heading straight towards the city. The man added that the monsters were most likely of high rank, which is why veterans were called here. The three men started posing and said they would show all these monsters who was boss. Minato wasn't exactly sure. They said that they were just preparing some kind of plan and would be very happy to have girls join their team. Mania turned to Minato, who waved at them with a tired face, hinting that they should go without him. The guy yawned, realizing that the girls would be much better off if he didn't participate in all of this, but now he just wanted to sleep. Suddenly, someone burst into the room. A very tired guy stood right at the entrance. He suddenly raised his eyes in a very panicked manner with a special device in his hands. He shouted sharply that a detailed report from the scouts had finally arrived. Minato looked at him with tired eyes. The guy at the entrance said that the approximate number of monsters was 6,000. He also added that the average rank was in the C area. All the adventurers were very surprised by the number of monsters. Someone said that this couldn't be true, but the guy replied that the information was accurate. He also added that most likely the city's outer walls might not hold up. A huge number of monsters ran straight ahead without stopping, their eyes shining with the desire to destroy everything that came into their sight. The huge giant moved forward, crushing everything with his huge hands. The men in the guild began to run away in panic. Everyone was too scared of the information that had been delivered to them. Minato was very surprised that such men would just up and run away. All the adventurers ran as fast as they could, screaming about monsters. They were seriously scared. Suddenly, someone stood in front of them threateningly, blocking their path. The head of the guild stood right in front of the entrance, blocking everyone's path, and ordered them to stop. He suggested talking about a plan for how they could protect the city now. The men didn't like this. They simply decided to save their lives. They began to discuss heatedly that the monsters would arrive tomorrow morning, right at dawn. Someone shouted that they only had 6 hours left. The leader began to speak only before the monsters became too active. Such experienced travelers would most likely be able to escape. He suddenly asked how the newcomers and the city residents would live. The man added that it was all useless, and they had no means of survival. Everyone in the room instantly fell silent, as if the words had had an effect and had touched the right spot. Someone clenched their fist and cursed. The leader said that he knew the main rule of adventurers, first of all, to always save yourself, but he wanted to ask the men as the leader of the Mania Guild. Rice bowed sharply, as did the people behind him. They all asked the adventurers to help them protect the city. All the men were tensely silent, but the leader continued, saying that there would be a reward and saying that we must make the most of it. Someone proudly steps forward and says that this is quite a good offer. Minato realizes that this leader is really good and knows how to negotiate. The Seekers asked what their plan was. The leader turned to Sierra. The girl nodded. She spread the city map out on the table. The man began to explain his plan. He plans to build a second defensive line and a moat inside the outer wall. The men asked where they could get the materials for all this. The chief ordered that trees be cut down and several houses be dismantled, and that the sand that would remain after the ditches were dug would be used as fill between the walls, which is fenced in on all sides. All the Seekers looked carefully at the map and listened to the plan of action. The head continued. The thing is, the monsters would attack the humans if they saw them, so the leader ordered to make a high wall and hide behind it. They would let the hordes pass by until the main forces arrived. The man continued. He said that they would make enough space around the guild for ordinary people to enter. All the adventurers opened their eyes wide and tried to listen. The travelers asked if they should start now, to which they received the answer that the space is quite large. If we talk about evacuating the residents, everyone understands that there is no such thing as a wall against 6,000 C-rank monsters. Minato looked at all this, realizing that he didn't understand anything. Mania rarely asked if they would have time to put this plan into action. The guy realized that she asked a question that interested everyone, and they answered that they were looking for a sage, why there are so many famous adventurers in Mania. One of the men said that the girl looked like his granddaughter, and he really wanted to give her some sweets. The guild leader replied that the chances of success were actually very low, and he asked sharply, do they have a better plan than this? The branch manager is able to develop and implement a plan in such a short time. Mania came a little closer and looked closely at the head. In his opinion, this plan seems to be the only way that can be implemented. The head abruptly raised his hand and said that everything was decided because time was running out. The guild leader gave the order for the people who live as close to the outer wall as possible to move and prepare the territory. The adventurer, under the guidance of the carpenters, will begin to dig and build barriers. In other words, they need to do everything they can now. A huge crowd of adventurers worked hard to protect their city from monsters. Everyone was loudly and heatedly discussing their plan of further action. Suddenly, someone says that he is sorry, but he wants to leave. The group of guys were arguing loudly. They asked the guy if he really wanted to leave them now, to which he casually replied that according to some information there were A-rank monsters there. He understood that they were not their level. He quickly mounted his horse and headed into the unknown, advising his comrades to also run away quickly. Minato looks at the scene unfolding before him and understands that people are now overcome with despair. Suddenly, a man from behind shouted for everyone to disperse. Because he was carrying his things, the guy quickly moved out of the way so that he would be knocked down. He looked ahead calmly, thinking about something of his own. He didn't know there were so many people in this city. Suddenly, someone approached the guy and said that they might have problems now. Minato turned around and saw the innkeeper. The man noticed the boy's tired look, compared him to a bear, and asked if he hadn't slept all this time. He abruptly handed the boy a piece of meat and threw it on the village haystack, hoping that the boy would have a good rest. Minato remembers that he hasn't slept since yesterday and asks how much he owes the man and the meat. The innkeeper smiled and told the guy to take them for free. He explained that he was giving them away because they could get spoiled during the evacuation. Unfortunately, he had become a kneecap and could not help with the evacuation, but he was trying to do his best. Minato was covered with a blanket and the man went on to help the adventurers feed them. The boy remained on the hay. Looking at the meat in his hands, he mentally apologized to Amy. Minato took a bite. He liked it. When he finished, he settled more comfortably in the hay, closed his eyes, and realized that despite everything, he felt safe. People were running around, everyone was offering their help, someone was sharing important information, and someone was asking if they could help with anything. The guy got up from the hay and thought, could he help with anything? But now his magical power has decreased by 20%. Not to mention the nameless magic. He can only make 100 shots. The knowledge of the previous life is so limited that he can't make the magic 100% effective. If he loved strategy like these kids, he might be able to come up with some kind of plan, but the only thing he knows is children's games. Hide and seek, tag, games in a magic circle with cards, kinmanyu. The latter was once very popular. A game of learning magic circles in an entertaining form, a fight for positions. On each of the 10 cards, you need to draw a magic circle, which you remember by heart, and you need to install it. There was also a magic circle for repelling. It is useless to use it when the enemy is already in the camp. But before that, the circle can prevent the penetration of enemy forces. Minato decided to remember what this sign looked like, and tried to sketch it in a notebook. Suddenly, some kind of realization came to him. When he was a child, he didn't understand what it meant. Now, as he improved in the magic of this world, everything fell into place. It seemed to him that he was like a magic circle in Amy's sphere, which attracted demons. The guy isn't sure if it will work, but he wants to try. Minato crouched on the ground and used strengthening magic. He took off sharply, jumping very high. He carefully climbed onto the roof of a very tall building. The crowd of adventurers looked into the distance, wondering if the invasion had been stopped. The man interrupted their thoughts. He explained that if demons notice people, they immediately attack. If they gather in a pack, they attack the city, and asked, "Isn't that so?" And yet, he doesn't know why they stopped. Suddenly, someone shouted that the monsters had started moving towards the city. The girl pulled the bow sharply. Her hand was shaking violently, and her eyes were filled with fear. She says the monsters have started moving, and if they just pass by, the monsters move forward quietly, preparing to attack everything in their path. From the heights of a tall building, someone was watching all this. The girl suddenly became frightened and asked loudly, "What about the north side?" She ran sharply to the other side and quickly opened the window. Something suddenly frightened her. Her eyes filled with the strongest fear. She covered her mouth with her hands so as not to scream again, and asked, "What is it?" People below started asking in a panic what was going on, and someone answered very loudly that something was happening on the observation tower. People began to ask loudly, had demons really gotten inside? What happened to the yellow torches that marked the intrusions? The girl on the tower said that she didn't understand anything at all. Someone from below asked her what it meant, didn't understand, and they asked if the communicator was faulty. The girl answered negatively and explained that it was something else. She clarified that she thought the investment had stopped, but the monsters continued to advance. The girl suddenly shouted that monsters were starting to surround the city. People started discussing whether the monster horde had its own siege tactics. Someone said they had never heard of such a thing. Somewhere in the crowd, Minato was trying to figure out what was going on. The guy said that monster-repelling magic definitely works, but this reaction of people, something about her worries the guy. He wonders if he did something wrong. Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted that she knew it was Minato. Amy and Mina's acquaintances rarely hugged the guy. Happy to have met him, the guy was very surprised by such a greeting. For him, it is a very enthusiastic reunion. The guy asked what the phrase meant. "I knew?" Mina interrupted him and said that the reason why the invasion stopped and pointed up, Minato realized she could see his magic. The girls asked sharply if it really worked. Ima replied that if they had such magic, they would have walked along the path without any problems. Minato replied that it was useless because the monsters were too close. He added that magic was very difficult to transfer once activated. This is all according to his knowledge from the game. The guy turned his head to the crowd and asked if he did the right thing by using magic, because he was very stressed out by the reactions of the people around him. Mina said no. Ima replied that, on the contrary, the guy did everything right. The girl decided to share that the outer layer of the wall was completed, which cannot be said about the outer part. They had to fight with flying monsters. In their eagle, there are giants and orcs. There is a chance that they will climb over the double wall. Minato wondered if it was an expensive process. The girls remember how they made their way here, for sure. It's good that Minato was here. The girls smiled brightly at him. Mina thought hard and decided to ask the guy about the technique and asked where he got it from. The girl is basking in the fact that she knows many magical techniques, but also sees them for the first time. Minato said without thinking that it was Kinmanyo. The girls didn't understand anything. The boy remembers that the game may have had a longer name. The game Guide to Countering Magical Disasters, or Kinmanyo for short. Minato realized that he was able to remember the full name of the game. In his previous life, the demons had been almost completely eradicated, so he rarely had to fight them. But if, in the unlikely event that a demon attack did occur, the citizens would be defenseless. That is why the state decided to talk about the basic measures in such a situation. They presented it in the form of a game. As a result, this name was shortened and now it is known as Kinmanyu. It's hard for the guy to explain it, but that's exactly what was written in the book he read a long time ago, but he tried his best. Mina nodded and said that if anyone else asks, they should say that it is ancient magic. Minato said that it seemed like it might work, which surprised the girl greatly. Maiga wonders if the guy is using that much magic. That's a lot of energy. It's hard for the girl to say why the guy is so strong, but his magic is noticeably decreasing. The city was not calm. Everyone was preparing for battle with the monsters that were approaching the city. An older man with a beautiful beard said he would be the light. The witch-like businesswoman said she had water and air. The man replied that he was fire and darkness. The short guy said that if no one objected, he would be earth. Mina thanked Mr. Lias for being able to gather all the wizards in such a short time. The man replied that this city was just a test to see if they could withstand the influx of demons, so the city must be protected by this ancient magic. The man smiled sharply and exhaled. He was glad that all this was simply incredible, because they really were able to deceive the monsters. During the test, the mages circled around the demon-repelling magic spell. They pointed their magic scepters tensely. It looked like they were trying to cast a spell. All four of them wondered what it was. The magicians began to discuss that none of the elemental attributes worked, and asked if this was exactly the same magic circle. Minato replied that there could be no mistake, and that this was the same magic circle. He was surprised at the picture in front of him, because this was the simplest magic circle that everyone could use. Mina came up from behind and asked if this could be part of attribute magic. Lias came closer, asked to wait, and asked where the girl got such information from, and asked the girl her rank. The girl said that Minato knows all this, but she can't find any magical prerequisites. For her, it's strange. The girl makes an assumption that it may be a matter of complex attribute magic. She is talking about the simultaneous combination of several attributes for activation. She understands that this is not something special. Lias added that this is with 15 combinations of only 2 attributes. Mina replied that it could be a combination of 3 or more. The man was surprised and said that if we are talking about people who have many attributes and can do even more. Minato came closer and said that if that's the case, the guy was asked to continue and asked if they should just trust his magic to keep the demons away. The guy answered positively and added that people should not worry. He asked how long he would have to hold off the demons. Lias thoughtfully rubbed the bridge of his nose and chuckled thoughtfully. The man replied that he knew nothing. He hoped that the demons would get bored or hungry and leave, but they were acting very strangely. He adds that if Minato's magic repels demons, then they should have passed by them. But the monsters never left. They are still here, surrounding the city, an eerily quiet herd of monsters. Manza asked sharply what the monsters needed, and clarified whether they had any behavioral peculiarities. Lias replied that it was a completely ordinary herd, and they also received information that no one was lagging behind. Minato was very surprised at the mention of stragglers. The man clarified that he was talking about demons that break away from the herd and act alone, so whenever they plan to hunt a large herd, they start with the stragglers. The guy asked again if there were any, to which he received the answer that there weren't any, and everything was fine. The girl finds this very strange, because it is a huge flock. This huge flock of monsters is definitely being led by someone. Lias and Mina both suggested that it might be a red egg. Minato asks them what kind of egg it is. He was told that these are eggs that suddenly appear in the forest and summon swarms of demons, but no one can say for sure. The girl began to tell that demons born from the red egg are known to be easily controlled. Minato asked what next, and made a guess that if they destroy the egg, the demons will run away, and clarified whether his theory was correct. He was told that the demons will simply disappear. The guy said that they just need to destroy the egg. Lias said it was impossible. He said that the egg is protected by monsters, and today there are about 10 of them, but only once it was possible to destroy it. Mina added that 24 of the strongest travelers participated in that attempt, and only 2 made it to the end. In their case, the demons were stronger than that time. And it really is hopeless. Minato realizes that with the 20% of magic left in him, he won't be able to do anything to help. Lias continued. He said that in other words, when Minato's mania ends, the demons will flood the walls at once, and this city will come to an end. The boy understands that his magic carries a huge responsibility. He pushed away all unnecessary thoughts. Minato understands that he must help this city. The main thing is not to give up. He abruptly stopped the story and said that if they know about a successful attempt, then they can definitely come up with something and ask to tell in more detail. Laius thought about it and said that demons born from a red egg would usually move a certain distance away from the egg if they could use it. Minato suddenly had an idea. The couple became interested in the guy's words. All three went into the library. The man immediately agreed with the guy's idea. Minato was surprised and asked if they were sure. He thought it was a bad idea. Laius says that he is prepared for the villagers to be upset with him, but the guild can accept Minato's idea. He sharply ordered everyone to act. Everyone responded with a sharp, positive response. The man asked Sierra to take the guy to the VIP room. The girl responded positively. Laius called Minato one last time. He shook the boy's hand firmly and said that the fate of the city depended on his magical power. Laius wished the guy luck in maintaining the barrier for the next 2 days. Minato smiled and promised that he would do everything. All the people worked hard to protect themselves from the demons that were heading towards them. Minato sat down on the sofa. He was very tired, and after such a long time, he was able to sit down to rest. He thought about how he was the only one who had managed to push his idea through so easily, and at the same time, he looked at the beautiful room around him. For some reason, he felt like he didn't fit in this place at all. Sierra was about to leave with the thought that she needed some air. She turned around and told the guy that he would definitely succeed. Minato nodded and closed his eyes tiredly. All he could do for now was maintain the magic. He feels like he has forgotten something important. Sierra was nearby and said she had never seen bears sleep. Minato replied that he hadn't slept for 2 nights. The girl was very surprised and said that the guy was most likely very tired. He worked hard and really deserved it. The guy asked if they had anything to drink to stay awake, and Sierra suggested herbal tea. The girl, with a polite smile, poured tea for the guy and asked what would happen if he fell asleep. Minato yawned loudly and said that the barrier would most likely turn off. The girl didn't understand right away and asked again. Minato said that the barrier would simply disappear. She moved closer to his face, looking into his very tired eyes. Minato realizes that it may be that there is only half a day left until the barrier ends. He will try not to fall asleep until his mission is over. Someone suggests abandoning the city. The adventurers continue to work hard, this time in the mines. The man wipes sweat from his forehead as his companion notices a noise directly above their heads. He realized that the demons were now above, right above them. The monsters really did run right over their heads, and the men dreamed of quickly getting to the surface for some fresh air. The man realized that if the monsters ran over them, it was time to go for a second approach. He needed to make a hole in the ground. Their goal is to create a tunnel, using which they will escape under the influence of the red egg. The team of diggers includes only the strongest adventurers. The guy asks the workers what if they heal them with magic, to which the men of course agree and will only be happy about this. The guy drew a spell on a piece of paper. A team of several people dug a tunnel under the monsters. They used excavation magic. Wizards with earth attributes used it when they built the wall. The men looked at the picture in front of them in surprise. How easily the earth gave in to the wizards. Since this is an independent magic, it does not require Minato to activate. If this magic was a composite magic, it would be very difficult. While Parquet was casting his spell, he wondered what kind of magical kinu Minato had given them. It was an unknown magic, the consumption of which was as minimal as possible. The wizard was destroying himself. Is this really the case when support wizards are so relied upon? He blushed slightly. This thought warmed his soul. He was pleased to realize that he was now very useful. And now that the land is ready, more and more people are using bags and the magic of storage. The men grabbed the bags with strong hands and were about to carry them somewhere. All adventurers and residents will be taken out through the tunnels. Men continue to pass bags to each other to take them to the surface. As for Minato, he needs to focus on reducing the consumption of magic power to maintain the demon-repelling magic. The guy understands that he only has to wait until the tunnel is completed. He closes his eyes. Slowly, a girl approaches him from behind. The guy wanted to look back, but she was faster and hit the guy hard on the head, so that he definitely couldn't fall asleep. Sierra politely asked if the guy was okay, to which he replied positively and thanked the girl, because he almost fell asleep, and she saved him. In his past life, he sometimes didn't sleep for even 3 days, but he never experienced such exhaustion of magical powers. He understands that he needs to be on guard and try not to fall asleep. If he falls asleep, the demons will break into the city. He knows that this is a big answer, but he can't help himself. Sierra started shaking the guy quickly because he was almost asleep. She hit him again sharply. with all her might. The girl apologized to him. Minato replied that he himself asked the girl to beat him if he wanted to fall asleep, and asked not to worry about it. The guy thinks that people have been digging for 3 days already. He should have heard by now that the tunnel is ready, but there is no movement. He wondered if there was some kind of problem when Sierra suddenly called Minato to get his attention. She suggested that the guy go and check it out personally. She shouted sharply that she didn't want to hit the guy anymore. The residents are waiting for the evacuation signal before entering the tunnel. Minato has less than 10% of his magic power left, so it's time to act. All the residents are worried. Someone is shouting for people to take only the most necessary things with them. Minato spotted a guy who asked to be returned to the tunnel. According to him, he was very useful there. His comrade dissuaded him, saying that he was exhausted. The first one denied it, saying that they only had a little time left to open the tunnel, and that this was the base of the rock. The second guy looked at his exhausted friend with great concern. Minato asked them if something was wrong. They explained to him that there was solid rock between the ground and the tunnel, and they blocked the entrance. Minato understood why the opening of the road was delayed. The exhausted boy began to say that he was completely fine and was ready to continue working. His friend shouted that he couldn't work because he looked very bad. The guy asked for some water. The guy looked at him sadly. He reported that the waterways had been destroyed by demons and the drinking water. Sierra was very surprised to see empty barrels nearby. Minato asked with a serious face if it was possible to summon water using magic, since there was water supply magic. The water mages replied that with their powers they could only fill 2 wine barrels, and they were empty. All the mages were lying very tired. Sierra started to panic and asked what they should do. Minato asked the mages to show them the water supply magic circle. They showed him. The guy realized that he was right in his thoughts. It is extremely ineffective. The girl magician said that this magic, precious knowledge, which was changed by the great sage Weimar. Minato was disappointed in this man, because all this is because of him. The guy asked to distribute sheets with a spell. Water poured out of the magician's staff, which greatly surprised the girl, and she said with delight and shining eyes that this magic circle was so creepy that it did not lose its magic. Some guy wanted to pour water, but the man from the tunnel digging team threatened that they would be first, and the guy should stand in line. The water mages just poured water into all the barrels. Sierra asked if they could distribute such a spell for free. After all, it was incredibly valuable. It was exactly what Minato could have been imprisoned for, but the guy replied that they absolutely needed it now. He exhaled. They had solved the water problem. If the rocks can't be broken by drilling magic, Minato thinks of using his improved attack magic on other wizards so they could offer it to Rias. Sierra smiled and said that the guy hadn't changed at all. Minato was surprised and asked again, "Is that really so?" The girl confirmed her words. The guy thinks that even if he has 10% of all the magic left, they will still have a cure for demons, he suddenly called out to Rias. The man was discussing water with someone. The people behind ran with bright smiles and shouted that they had stocked up on water for the journey. The headman suddenly asked loudly, "Why is the water pouring from the ceiling?" The couple who were running stopped abruptly after these words. The seething streams of water fell furiously from all sides, merging into a single deadly cascade. The dull roar of the enraged elements was deafening. Water was oozing from every corner of the cave. The guy loudly answered the chief's question about water in the affirmative. He added, saying that it was underground water and a fairly strong flow. At this rate, in an hour, their tunnel would be flooded. Rias tried to deny all this. He didn't want to believe it. He asked if the tunnel was flooded now. The water will flood everything around. Everything will collapse, cutting off the tunnel. Minato came closer and asked what the condition of the tunnel was in the exit area. Mana loudly replied that it was all useless. They couldn't even make a crack. The guy understands that it's all useless. Is their only option left to abandon security measures? According to the plan, after the tunnel was opened, the residents would be evacuated. They would block the entrance. The idea was to scare away the demons. But now, the tunnel is in danger of being flooded. Going inside is the same as giving the order to drown. But if people remain in the city, then in less than 12 hours, the protection from demons will weaken, and the demons will break into the city in that case. Minato understands that there were no guarantees in this situation from the start. He turned to Rias. The man, with fear in his eyes, turned his gaze to someone else's. Minato ordered the residents to be placed in the tunnels, and he himself promises to close and block the entrance. People walked through the tunnel, Fear of the unknown in their eyes, they slowly moved forward, hoping for salvation. Minato stood behind the entrance and carefully watched this huge crowd of people. The guy understood that a mistake would cost several lives at once, all the inhabitants of the village at once. The pressure was so strong that his hands were shaking violently. The guild leader reported that all the residents were inside the tunnel. Minato gave the command to begin. The man suddenly cut the thick rope, and it broke with a loud crack. The gates were opened, and water began to slowly flow from behind a makeshift ditch, gaining strength, slowly but surely striving to completely escape from captivity. Two figures stood in the darkness, silently, waiting for something, tension in the air, not promising anything good. Minato spread his arms out to the sides and began to cast spells against evil spirits. A small sphere appeared in his hands. While the demons were directing it towards the village, the boy ordered the power to be released. Monstrous creatures crawled out of the darkness, their twisted forms distorted in the flickering light. Each creature gaped its enormous mouth, lined with rows of curved fangs that dripped poisonous saliva. The barbaric onslaught of monsters descended upon the city limits like a living hurricane of destruction, their twisted bodies of muscle and chitinous plates crashing against the ancient wall. Minato realized that he could use magic now. The rest depended on the strength of the foundation. The guy sat down on the ground, using the magic boost. Now it's a real race against time. Rias turned to Minato. He raised his hand to pat him on the back and said that he would be a newbie. As soon as the man touched the guy's back, he flew forward at full speed. He began to overtake a huge crowd of people, using the discovery made during his life. He flew so fast that people did not have time to notice him. He overtook the entire crowd inside the tunnel. The speed was simply inhuman. The monsters on the surface growled loudly in search of food. They destroyed absolutely everything they saw in front of them. Minato continued to fly forward. He was completely confident in his actions. He overtook the crowd of people at a breakneck speed, which surprised everyone who saw him. People could not believe their eyes that they were seeing this now. They started shouting loudly, supporting the guy. They believed in him and his strength. They didn't doubt the guy's strength and abilities for a second. For them, he was a real hero. A crowd of people stopped in front of a puddle of water. It was dripping from a stream, and people were trying to think of something to get through it as a crowd. And the line stretched almost along the entire tunnel. Minato opened his notebook to use a new spell. Suddenly, the water in front of the people froze, turning into a thick layer of cold ice. The guy was flying along the ceiling, from which water was dripping and new holes were appearing. He urgently needed to do something about it. All the water he saw in front of him, he turned into cold ice. He had to protect all the people behind him. He continued his way forward. He urgently needed to get to the end of the tunnel. He could stop the water, but not all of it. Putting his foot on the support, he pushed off and made another jump forward to fly faster. Suddenly a light appeared in front of him. There stood a small group of people in the form of various magicians, and Mania and Ama were also standing there. The girls immediately turned around when they heard strange sounds behind them. The guy stopped abruptly, kneeling in front of them. All sweaty and tired after such a flight, he reported that Minato's reinforcements had arrived at the right time and place. Someone says that reinforcements have arrived. The girl is happy to see Minato. It is reported that this rock closes the entrance to the tunnel. It is huge. They think it's the only magic that causes vibration, but if you hit it with vibration repeatedly, there's a risk that it will entwine the tunnel with glycine. It's said that they'll have to use all their magic power to deal the final blow. Minato points out that they don't have the magic they need. He says that they need to improve it, that if they break the stone, they might be able to get through. The other characters notice that everyone is waist deep in water and say what he's doing. They ask him not to disturb his concentration. The hero says that he is perfecting the bomb cannon from the offensive magic handbook to the limit, and he thinks that it is sharper, and he is sleepy. His eyes are cloudy. He adds that he even has a headache. The protagonist believes that this line should also be carefully developed so that there are no magical leaks. The guy says that now all they can do is pray. A boy with dark hair asks to build a magic circle. A young man uses an improved blast cannon to destroy a stone barrier. The characters call the guy. Minato thinks he sees the ground and thinks that's good. Now he can sleep. The other characters rejoice at the success. The hero wonders whether it is a demon or a human being in front of him. He says it's too light to see. and he can't move. The girl with long hair says they were so worried that they fell asleep while she was with them and is glad that Mr. Minato woke up. The guy lies on the bed and wonders who this powerful beauty is. She says she's glad he wasn't hurt, that he was just sleeping. He says he can sleep without moving. The girl adds that the two seekers of wisdom thought he was dead. She says they were crying bitter tears when she found him. The hero thinks that she was the only one who looked like salvation. She apologizes for the suddenness and explains that this is the Maya's Guild guest house. The girl introduces herself, says she is Cardiff, the head of the branch. He says that he has already been told that a rescue operation has already been sent to the neighboring city, and asks that you yourself have come to save them, the branch commander. She says that she heard from the branch manager of Mania that the city was in the middle of a monster outbreak, and that he was the first in history to be able to keep the undead at bay. Cardiff asks him for an autograph, and he is surprised to learn that he is now a celebrity. Minato asks what this document is called, Special Request Reward Receipt. The branch guild leader says that the Adventurers Guild will give a small reward to everyone who contributed to the evacuation of those in distress, and they have determined the amount of the contribution. She adds that they have prepared 30 million for him. The guy notes that this is a lot. She says that if they ask for a redetermination, there is a chance that the reward will be higher. The girl addresses Minato, telling him that he should make himself at home. She asks him to say hello to the two people in the room. It is reported that they slept here almost the entire night, and Minato does not want to wake them, saying that he wants to quietly go out and see what is happening in the city. He reports that they are awake and asks why they slept with him. The others note that Cardiff was very nice to them, and she said she likes nice girls. Two girls say that she showed them the whole house, and they came here often. Cardiff notices that this is the Minato they've heard so much about. He notes that the scale of the outbreak is unusually large and suggests that they may be behind it. She says that things may not end the way they want, expressing concern about the situation. Maya's is reported to be the main town in the area and is a transport hub through which all routes pass. The girl remarks that the city's outer walls are magnificent and says that even if 6,000 demons attack them, they will be safe for a while. They notice the construction of the tower and assume that it is due to concerns about demons being too close, and the city is increasing its defenses. They note that the construction is going fast and that everyone there is a high-level adventurer. It is discussed that there is not enough room in the hotel for all the refugees from Manhwa, so they have gathered in the square where the campsite is set up. People celebrate the rescue, saying they thought they were going to die when they were shoulder-deep in water, but are now glad everything turned out okay. Minato is relieved to hear that everything is okay. He says that he heard that he was carried while he was sleeping and is told that it was a battle to carry him away. The girl suggests going, as everyone wants to thank Minato. He adds that it looks very pompous and that he has other ideas. They discuss the possibility that the big one they found in the ruins is the true essence of the red egg. It is reported that when he heard about the demon outbreak, it was a runaway ex-machine of the artificial magical intelligence. The girl denies this assumption and says that she has not seen anything like this there. And it is said that in order to create an outbreak of such a number of demons, a powerful source of magical power is needed, such has not been seen. The heroine expresses understanding for Minato's concerns. The guy says that he got a map from Rei's. The place where the explosion happened earlier is the supposed location of the red egg, which is very close to the ruins they found. The heroes regret not noticing all these signs earlier and say they could have taken countermeasures earlier. They think that the Mayans have spun a web of their inhabitants, and that doesn't mean they are finished. The end is yet to come. It is reported that until the people of Mania return to their homeland, the situation remains unresolved. The character suggests that they will have to fight 6,000 demons or directly attack the red egg. The girl believes that they can defeat the red egg if Minato, the highest-ranked adventurer in Mayasa, creates a large group, although it will be difficult. The characters agree that allowing the demons to disappear naturally is the best option, calling it a last resort. The adventurer says that if there are eggs, they might be under something. She also mentions that she smelled a strange odor under the basement of the Bolshoi. The heroine expresses concern that their magic will soon run out, and she does not want to be attacked like she was with the mechanical dragon. Minato notes that Imi's intuition is often correct, and suggests that the egg's location may be closer than they thought. He hopes to use this to find the egg. The girl is asked to explain what exactly it will look like. Amy agrees and begins to explain, though her answer remains incomplete, leaving the question up in the air. The adventurer notices that she is cold and asks why it is so cold. The other characters notice that the frost is terrible. The guy asks her if she is cold, if she is shivering. The girl replies that it is not that. She feels like she is in some terribly unpleasant place and asks if he doesn't feel it. The young man asks if there are any demons nearby and is told that there are none in sight, and he wonders where this feeling of hostility is coming from. Someone says that someone decided to use such magic for free because it costs a fortune. The character replies that he spread water and sticky magic. It is reported that perhaps he is in their sights because of someone. The hero feels someone's gaze on him, which makes him uneasy. He wonders if it's his imagination, and says that Amy's intuition only works when it comes to ruins and doubts it could be a person. Mania reports that she contacted the guild, and it seems that the city is now quiet and calm. They are trying to gather information. Minato asks if she thinks Amy will show up. She says probably not, and asks him not to look under her skirt. The guy thinks she's not in danger. The hero suggests returning to the guild's guest house for a while. The girl with the bob asks if she feels pleasantly relaxed. The girl with the long hair says it's still cold. Minato replies that he is here, confirming his presence. The characters ask Minato to talk to them or sing. They tell him that he can play an instrument and ask him to tell them something they don't know. The guy refuses and thinks that he is like putting children to bed. The protagonist notices that something is clearly wrong with Amy and tries to figure out what it is. He considers using magic to solve the problem, but notes that it may be due to depression from bathing in the bathtub. The young man thinks there must be something else and decides to improve his magic as it will be useful. However, he admits that he is still not sure if he is ready for it. He notices that Amy's hair is a little dry and tells her so. She also notes that Amy feels more comfortable around Minato. Mina jokes that she is like a cat who loves to bask in the sun. The hero says that he has been thinking about this for a long time. The boy wonders why Amy is so scared, and suggests that a horde of 6,000 creatures from Manhwa may be heading their way. The girl notes that the demons from the red egg cannot perform such maneuvers, deeming it impossible. Minato suggests that they are heading this way. The adventurer anxiously tells Minato that if this happens, she doesn't finish the sentence. She adds that this entire area would be destroyed as a result of a possible attack. Maya's is reportedly the largest city and logistics hub in the area, adding that if it were to become surrounded by demons, vital lifelines would be cut off, and nearby towns and villages would fall as a consequence. Minato agrees and wonders how the scale of the damage will compare to what happened in Manhwa. He says that even before the demon attack in Manhwa, Amy was fine, but now she is more scared. Maybe what is happening now is something more. The characters realize that they must wait for news to find out what exactly is going on and what the situation is. A voice came from the radio, saying that it was the Maya's Guild, and turning to Mina, asking her to answer. It is said that this is in front of the entrance to the Mayasa Guild Hall. The protagonist notices that there are so many adventurers here, and asks what they will do with them, and says that Amy could stay in her room. And she replies that she would be best with him. The characters notice that many demons have emerged from the blast zone, causing concern and questions about what is happening. The adventurers notice that the monsters are not moving and assume that this may be another outbreak. They wonder how many of them there really are. There are reportedly 40,000 of them, 6 times more than there were in Manhwa, which leaves the heroes amazed. Minato thinks he knew something bad was going on, but the numbers are so outrageous, he asks Emi if that's the reason for her chills. People in the city begin to worry and become outraged when they learn about the number of monsters, 40,000. They understand that the situation is serious and requires immediate action. The people notice that there is an army in front of them, and they say that it is Cardiff's troops. Mania says that the guard is under Cardiff's direct command and a group of loyal men and women who are ready to fight for her to the last. Mayasa Guild branch greets everyone, happy for their arrival. She announces in a clear voice that there is a new demon outbreak. 40,000 new demons have emerged from the red egg, and says that a new demon outbreak is approaching them. The character expresses confusion at the pace of events, saying that in 24 hours, Maya's will be at the center of events. The girl firmly states that there is only one way to deal with the situation, to form a squad and attack the place where the egg is located. She adds that they need to destroy it, realizing that they are outnumbered 40,000 to 1, but if they break through, victory will be theirs. Other characters express concern, considering it almost suicidal, preferring to protect the city from 40,000 demons. The head of the guild branch confidently says that they will take responsibility and will stand at the front of the column, and mysteriously fell silent. She enthusiastically states that she is ready to take part in the destruction of the red egg. Cardiff announces that all those willing to assist in the destruction of the red egg must meet at the designated location tomorrow at noon, and that all are free to go now. People are responding enthusiastically to Cardiff's call to help. Minato thinks she is charismatic and has an army. Their morals are completely different from My Hera's. Mania notes that they can't talk with all the noise and suggests they move elsewhere. The protagonist asks what the others think of the plan. He says that 6,000 against 40,000 is an unequal fight and suggests that the monsters will attack from the side and crush them immediately, destroying them before they find the egg. The girl expresses confidence that Miss Cardiff knows about this and hopes that the demons can be avoided. The character notes that they plan to leave 3 hours before the monsters arrive to avoid any unnecessary mishaps and hope that the demons will disappear just in time. The heroine says that she did not want to allow things to get even worse. The hero says that he actually thought about it before the bath and suggests going and looking for the eggs before Cardiff finds out about it. The girl wonders why they are the only ones who have to go on this mission, and Minato explains that if they find out where the eggs are before they set out, there will be less trouble. The character says that he feels their gaze and does not intend to tell anyone about his advanced magic, as it could lead to trouble. Minato says that no one should know about his abilities, as he is a suspicious figure and they are the only ones who would risk going with him. He is reported to be a public figure, a 5-armed wielder of magic and ancient sorceries. The girl notes that she didn't know Minato was so suspicious. Amy notices that the smell is getting thicker and more terrifying, indicating that they are getting closer to where the egg is. Mania confirms that she knew the egg was likely located in roughly the same location as the ruins found earlier. He also notes that Amy assumed the egg would be under something massive. The hero says that they are currently working on finding the shortest path to the Crimson Egg of Doom and decides to continue digging. He uses improved excavation magic. He reasons that he has improved the digging spell to eliminate the need to waste time clearing the soil. The character notes that they have made good progress in the excavation and assumes that if the egg is located directly under the ruins, then they have gone about 2/3 of the way, and thinks that it is possible not to resort to Mina's skills. Only Amy's sense of smell will suffice. The girl says she's going back to the surface, and if anything happens, she needs to be contacted. The adventurer happily asks if she can use it. She's usually not allowed to use it because they're valuable magical tools. Minato is surprised that Mina gives him something. He notes that this is the first time she has given such a gift. The hero expresses disappointment that the gift from the girl did not live up to his expectations. She adds that if he finds himself in trouble, this might come in handy. The girl explains that it is a pickaxe. The boy thinks about which side to use. She says that there is no need to say that he does not know how to work it. Mina says that it is useless for him, because his mana has already been restored. The character notes that a pickaxe would be useful for him, especially now that there is a need to conserve mana. He happily agrees to use the tool. They say goodbye to each other's girls. Amy says it's her turn to work now. The guy thinks he's going to win the egg hunt against Cardiff no matter what, and wonders when everything became a battle. He adds that it would have been scary before. The girl notices that the situation has changed. She was scared before, but now she is ready to act. They discuss whether she understands the seriousness of the situation. The protagonist says that things will get much more serious when they find the egg, and admits that their strength may not be enough. It is reported that by digging here, they will be able to ignore the 40,000 monsters standing outside, but they will not be able to avoid fighting the monsters that protect the egg. The heroine explains that Mania returned to the surface to gather reinforcements and defeat the enemies together. The girl says Mania has good negotiating skills and she will come back with a bunch of adventurers. Even if he is a bit of a shady person, it will still be good. The guy thinks it will be good if at least 30 people come. The characters note that this sounds encouraging, as fear no longer constrains their actions. At this moment, the magic communicator rings, and the heroine happily greets and says that it is her. The heroine reports that she has reached the exit of the tunnel. Amy says that she cannot hear her. Minato replies that it is him, and Mania wonders why Amy would give the magical communicator to the hero. She notices that there is no movement from the watchtower, and the monster's advance speeds have not changed compared to what they were in Mania. The characters discuss a plan of action and decide that as soon as the mage starts moving, the hole needs to be destroyed. The girl senses a strong mage. The girl suggests that they could become their reinforcements. She says that her mana regenerates slower than Minato's, but she will try to fix it. Emi asks what happened. Minato admits that he can't go any further as the situation is getting bad. He fears that using his explosive cannon in this tight space could cause a cave-in. The excavation spell is not powerful enough to penetrate the rock. The heroine points to the tool and says that this is the perfect moment to use it. Minato holds the pickaxe and comments that it looks cool. He realizes that it might be the famous item given to him by Mania. The girl is surprised, as this is the first time she sees him using a non-magical tool. The guy accepts the gift. He realizes that a pickaxe is not a tool that can be picked up and used easily right away. The girl offers to help him. The hero tries to use the improved material, but notices that when he holds the tool high above his head, he has difficulty aiming. He decides to hit from the side. Minato is surprised that the rock just fell down. He thinks it's luck. The guy suggests letting go as he might hit the bottom and continuing to move forward without digging a hole to save time. The girl warns that there may be toxic fumes there and says that this should be taken seriously. The young man asks Amy how much she knows about caves. The girl replies that Mania is a real expert on the subject and mentions that she had visited several caves while exploring the ruins. Amy notices that canaries can detect poison gas. She says she runs after the canaries in Mania. Minato notes that they have a magical communicator for that and thinks she is too fast. He also remembers the poison detection spell from the safety seminars held at the company and uses magic to detect the poison. The hero notices that the spell works and everything is fine. Minato says that the cave floor isn't that bad and decides to contact Mania after examining it. He reports that he came across a cave while digging. Mania thinks it is dangerous to continue without proper equipment. The guy says that Amy went to her and they should meet. The girl asks what's wrong. He also thinks that the frequent explosions are somehow connected to the Crimson Egg of Doom. The adventurer assumes that the strong jolt is bad news and says that she heard an explosion. The protagonist replies that he is already normal and asks if Amy is back. Mania replies that no, she is just heading towards the tunnel, and asks what these tremors are and if they are coming from inside the tunnel. She says that the girl is with her now. The guy replies that as long as she is safe, he is happy. It is specified that the passage collapsed. He thinks he doesn't have time to dig it up again. The girl says that this can't be and what to do now. The watchtower is reported to be waving a red flag. This is a signal that they have spotted monsters approaching. The heroes are surprised that the monsters suddenly approach so quickly, considering that they were moving slowly. They wonder if the explosion and the speed at which the monsters appear could be related. The girl announces that the operation will begin a little earlier, and the heroes prepare to move out. Mania tells Minato that she is very sorry, but they will stay and fight to protect the city. She asks him to take care of the egg. He asks them to be careful. The hero hears a request to take care of an egg. He is surprised and asks if he should do it himself. He uses healing magic. Minato realizes that the explosion was strong enough to injure a human, meaning that he is very close to the center of the anomaly where the egg might be. He decides to continue searching since he has no choice. The boy notices that the Crimson Egg of Doom is blue and is surprised by this. He asks why it is blue, although it does not really matter. Minato decides to destroy the egg as quickly as possible to prevent any possible consequences. He notices an unusual object, asking what it is, and guessing that it might be a cube. The young man understands that this box will become an obstacle to his attack spells. The protagonist assesses the threat level and is surprised that something started talking. The adventurer wonders if he can build a dialogue with this box and thinks that it would be a good idea to ask it a few questions and decides to introduce himself. The cube replies that it is a transcendental object of rank S, which makes him surprised and questions the meaning of this term. The cube he discovered is shown to undergo a transformation, changing its shape and structure. Minato guesses that it might be a guard dog or guard bull, but realizes that the machine is meant to protect the egg, and realizes that it doesn't look like it will listen to his words. The guy uses defensive magic, which barely withstands his attacks, demonstrating high power. The hero notices that the first level of the mana limiter has been removed and the request to exceed the limit has been accepted. He uses various attacks, such as Thunder Cannon, Advanced Fire Volley and Wind Cannon, Water Cannon, but without effect. He thinks that this machine is not serious yet. Minato states that he can counterattack as well. The protagonist realizes that nothing worked and thinks that his magic cannot cause damage. The guy wonders how he can turn off this machine and activates the spells. He thinks that maybe his spell, Nameless Spell, might work on this dog bowl machine, but he doubts that the machine will give him time to activate the spell. The young man hopes that if he can hold out long enough, the car will overheat or self-destruct, or it will manage to bring him to such a wonderful outcome. The hero also suspects that using physical force may be useless, since magic does not help, but decides to take the risk. The adventurer confirms that he was right in his assumptions, and notices that the machine reacts calmly to the attack. And in the event of an attack from such a distance, his soul will be severely traumatized. The magic is activated. Minato wonders why the enemy attacked the discarded pickaxe instead of him, and asks if it had to do with the pickaxe's original trajectory. The protagonist notices that some heavy magic crystals are found in the place where the pickaxe was supposed to fall. They are surprised by their presence. The guy explains that these are heavy magic crystals, a special kind of magic crystal controlled by the guild, as they are explosive. When struck, they release a large amount of mana. Normal crystals are incomparable to them. He realizes that the machine's pickaxe defense indicates that it is susceptible to heavy magic crystal explosions, giving him an idea of the path to victory. The hero wonders why he decided to move away from the egg. He activates the magic and asks if he is sure he can allow himself to be there. Minato, addressing the machine, says that he can't retreat and protect the egg at the same time. And he wonders what he will protect. He asks what he will protect, the egg or the crystals. The hero understands that if he tries to protect two things at once, he will lose, and emphasizes that, of course, the egg should be a priority. The guy declares that in that case he will destroy them. The protagonist notes that the machine could not even predict his actions, that if he decides to shoot, he himself will be in the radius of destruction. The young man assumes that if this room really is an ancient ruin, the walls must be incredibly strong. He tests whether they can withstand an explosion. The heroes are surprised by the disappearance of the monsters and ask what is happening. The characters notice that Minato really tried and his efforts were noticed. The guy comes back after completing the task and says that now it's all over. He encounters a group of Cardiff's elite knights, accompanied by a guild member who asks if he is Minato. The guild member says that he would like to ask him something and informs that they will go on alone, asking the other knights to leave. The adventurer notices a secret door and a secret passage and is told to wait. Inside the room, the hero expresses surprise at being greeted in an unusual manner, although he did not expect such a reception. He wonders what merits he has earned for such a reception. The hero thinks that he is locked in a basement under Maya's. He thinks that he will not be able to remove the shackles by force, and notices that although he is locked up, no other excessive measures are used against him. And he notes that they communicate with him well. The guy notes that it is better to follow their orders, but he may be wrong. Minato feels like he's seen this guild member putting these handcuffs on him somewhere before. He wants to ask him something. The guy thinks his face is hard to remember, but he's sure he's seen it with someone before. It is reported that their tracks could not be found, and they are asked to remain vigilant. The protagonist recalls that his memories of this man are greatly clouded by the impression of his companion, and he finally remembered. The young man thinks that this is the same guy who's standing at the inn behind Cardiff and wonders if it was she who gave the order to arrest him. The girl says that it is very good that he has returned. He asks why she detained him. Cardiff explains that he is suspected of attempting to tunnel into Maya's in order to let the monsters in. The protagonist says that they made a tunnel leading to the Crimson Egg of Doom. The girl notes that it looked as if it was made to transport monsters from underground directly into the city. Cardiff also says that she spoke with Emi and Mina, who confirmed that Minato was digging the tunnel with them. The heroine reports that halfway through the tunnel collapsed and Minato was left there. The guy thinks that they didn't explain it well. It is said that the 40,000 monsters then disappeared because Minato destroyed the egg. The young man claims that she is a good impersonator of people. Cardiff confirms and says that he wants her to believe that there are hordes of monsters in the immediate vicinity of the egg that are protecting it. She wonders how a mage could take on these hordes of monsters alone. He also notices that when he got there, it was already cut up. The guy thinks that if he doesn't pretend to be a fool, he'll get into a lot of trouble. The girl asks how he will prove it. The protagonist thinks that perhaps further pretending to be a fool will be difficult. The hero holds a round gemstone that he found in the room where he destroyed the egg. He is not sure that this stone can be proof of anything, but he shows it anyway. He thinks he would like to take home at least a piece of the broken shell, but he could not find a single fragment. The character notices that the stone is the same color as the Crimson Egg of Doom. The blonde guy confirms that it is a real crystal of doom. They discuss how this is perfect evidence for their case, as such an item was previously known to them. Cardiff notices that the crystal he found is blue. The young man suggests that it may be related to the fact that the Crimson Egg of Doom itself turned out to be blue. But the wasps can't say that, otherwise they would think that he actually saw the egg. People discuss how crystals are high-quality, magical catalysts that can tell a lot about the mana inside them. It is said that it is possible to find out the source, the type of monsters created, whether there was artificial intervention or not. The girl asks Minato if she can keep the crystal for analysis. The hero allows it and explains that he brought the Crystal of Doom with him in order to find out the source of the monster outbreak. She confidently states that her prediction was accurate and says that Minato is not their ally. The guild branch leader adds that they would never just give up the Crystal of Doom, and that it is because they would not allow them to analyze anything that could help them capture them. The guy notes that their suspicions are not caused by the creation of a tunnel that could lead monsters into the city and the destruction of the Crimson Egg of Doom, but by the connection with them. The girl expresses regret that the hero had to experience something so unpleasant. It is said that his arrest before the city was dictated by concern for his safety. He suggests that those guys hiding in the city might try to rob him if he was careless enough to carry the Crystal of Doom. Minato is surprised and asks how dangerous these people are. Cardiff thanks Minato on behalf of the guild for saving the city and asks if he wants to know about them. The protagonist replies that he means that they might eventually follow him. The girl says that he can then find out all the details from the leader. She tells the leader that there is no need to doubt him anymore. The hero thinks that if he has already decided to cut the chain, it would be a good idea to grab the shackles himself. In the end, it became obvious that he was the one who destroyed the egg. However, the man she identified as the leader is still reportedly not entirely convinced. The character asks if he knows about the, quote, the invisible hand of the machine. He wonders what kind of ghost it is. The leader offers to show the exit, pointing out that there are no signs of surveillance at the moment. Another character notices that nothing can be seen and warns Minato to be careful. It is reported that this place was always associated with the guild. The characters notice that everyone is here to find out how the monster invasion was dealt with. He thinks that the leader's presence is dissipating, or rather, he is simply blending in with the crowd. One of the heroes thinks that the leader is deliberately making his appearance less significant in order not to attract the attention of the enemy, and decides that he too needs to remain inconspicuous in order not to attract the attention of the enemy. People notice that this is not the best time to be noticed. He expresses concern that if he is spotted, they will definitely shout his name loudly, and it will echo throughout the guild hall, and wonders how they knew of his location. The guy thinks that he wouldn't mind chatting with them since they were definitely very worried. The leader says he realized that Minato would have preferred to meet them quietly, under the weight of guilt. The hero asks to wait a second. The girls express irritation, thinking that he arrested Minato. He's glad they're okay, and knows he doesn't know what they're trying to say, but they seem to have been terribly worried. The leader wonders if he is sure of his decision, and asks if they invited him to leave Maya's and explore the ruins with them. He says that in the past he would have been very curious to explore the ruins. The guy also notes that if he goes with these two, he might accidentally mention what happened. But now he doesn't want to drag the girls into this situation. The hero expresses gratitude for the fact that he decided to stay in the city to help them. He says that he will leave it at this point. Another character agrees and asks to come to the guild reception in 3 days. He promises to share something that might be useful in the future. The action is reported to take place 3 days later. The protagonist expresses excitement, as it took him a lot of effort to destroy the Crimson Egg of Doom. He hopes that there is something useful in there, maybe a reward. The girl recognizes the hero and happily asks if he is Minato. She heard about him from the Adventurers Guild Mayasa. She announces that he has received the fastest promotion in history, giving him D rank. The secretary asks if he is pleased, and why she thinks it is an incredible achievement. He thinks he does not fully understand the ranking system. The guy thinks that promotion to D rank usually takes longer and believes that the leader used his connections. The hero thinks that deep down the man is quite good. He believes that the fact that he showed him the secret passage connecting the basement to the guild proves that he can be trusted. The young man thinks that this will be of more use than money and apologizes for thinking that he would be offered money. The girl can't lift the box and says it's for him. She says it's from the top management. The hero thinks it's a real reward. He thinks he will drag him into the room and doesn't finish the sentence. Minato notices that the box is sealed with a seal that only allows the owner to access the contents. He is surprised by the strict controls and assumes that the box cannot simply contain reward money. The adventurer wonders if he just needs to touch the seal to open it. He discovers a huge amount of gold coins inside the box and decides to use his inventory. The guy asks how much all this costs and says, "A letter." The magician reports that the letter does not have the sender's name, and the hero wonders if it is a receipt. The hero thinks that there is a blank sheet of paper in front of him. However, when he looks more closely, he sees letters and text appear on the sheet. It says that they thank him for his cooperation in the investigation, that the crystal has been tampered with, and that she will contact him later. Minato realizes the importance of this discovery, and realizes that an invisible hand was indeed trying to destroy the region by causing an outbreak of monsters. The letter states that as a reward, they included 100 million zigs and returned the Crystal of Doom. The main character is surprised and happy that the Crystal of Doom, which he previously had, is returned to him. The boy expressed concern that if those interested in the Crystal of Doom learned of his possession, they might realize that he was involved in their sabotage. He did not want to deal with something so dangerous. The young man says that he cannot find the Crystal of Doom in the box. He discovers a false bottom in the box and finds the Crystal of Doom inside. Minato wonders why they would give such a valuable item that was so carefully hidden. On the back of the document, it is stated that in order to secretly process or sell the crystal, one must contact the Ziesel company. The hero accepted this information and decided that before that, he needed to get rid of the letter. The adventurer says that he will take care of the evidence like this. He decides to sell the crystal as quickly as possible. The protagonist realizes that this company is engaged in the secret purchase and sale of dangerous crystals. The company must be a special store that serves famous adventurers. The guy notices that the building looks rather modest. There is reportedly only one counter inside the store. The hero looks at the map and says thoughtfully that it looks right. He thinks that compared to the shops near the guild, it only has 30% of their assortment and it feels like he'll go broke any second. Minato holds the stone in his hand and notes its appearance in surprise, comparing it to the normal stones that can be found everywhere. The mage expresses confusion as to why he was directed to this particular small shop. Another character confidently states that this is the place they were looking for. The hero suspects that the second character can read his mind. The older man, who calls himself Zessel, greets the hero, holding the same stone in his hand.